Can you? This year, it's now audio is up. Yes, we're back. Okay, good morning.
What's up? Welcome, everybody.
We were talking Greek.
Absolutely fantastic. We were speaking Greek.
How do you say good morning in Greek again?
Kalimera.
Kalimeras.
Kalimeras.
What? Nope, no S. That's Eunice adding that. What is up? All right, everybody's with us. Guys, it is wonderful to have you. We want a 40-minute Tom rant. Be careful what you wish for, Corbin, in the morning.
On what?
Be careful what you wish for. That makes it sound like a 40-minute rant off the jump. I really hope I have not done that historically, but it is certainly possible.
Truth, Devin. I see it in the chat. We did it. We watched it. It's coming. It is on Z-Way. But we got some other stuff to talk about first.
Yeah, we're talking about the argument that we were having even before we go live here.
Yes.
Oh, Gary.
We did it, Truth. I seen it.
We have so much to talk about. But yes, we want to have some fun with chat today. So boys and girls, I want to know what's on your guys' mind. What are you doing? We've got a full docket today. But as always, we are running experiments, chat, and we want to see if starting off with some good morning, some connection with you guys, if that is better for the show, worse for the show. So we're trying to further differentiate between the tight 60 minutes that we do at the end of this and the lives, so that it is a very different experience to show up here for the lives, more conversational, more elements of my personality. I think if I were going to reach inside Drew's soul, I often find myself having to translate what I think you're trying to tell me. And I think Drew and my wife have run into similar problems with my personality in that I tend to get very serious over time when I start dealing with something. That was my message that I took away yesterday. It was largely we want the full breadth of the personality back. You're getting into these very aggressive economic grooves, and we want more records to play. Drew, how'd I do? Am I getting close?
We're getting there. You know, it's a spectrum.
It's a spectrum. I'm on the spectrum, boys and girls.
It's a spectrum.
Are you actually?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay.
I think the second you say I'm on the spectrum has lost all meaning. For I have a very easy time reading other people, myself.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say one of my superpowers is even when that person does not understand themselves, I can build a mental map that they will recognize and go, yeah, actually, that is what I'm saying. It often takes time, but yes. So I am not on the spectrum. I'm very weird about maintaining friendships. That's the only thing that I will say is a slight... I collapse inside myself. That is the right way to think about it. At least if you understood what I mean when I say those words, that would be, yeah. So anyway, with AI.
Have you always been bad at maintaining friendships?
No. I was in middle school, high school. My friendships were like everything to me.
Okay.
College, a little bit less so, but still very important. But as I have gotten older, Lisa creates a context for me in which I feel completely connected to other people.
Yeah.
And then for some weird reason, that allows me to just become obsessed with whatever my imagination is dealing with.
Okay.
And I often think about that because I'm very cocky about my ability to be alone because I'm married. Now, if I wasn't married, would I have deep distress? Because there was one period in my life where I was just so busy and I wasn't married. And that was the darkest period of my life. So I do try to remind myself not to get too cocky about my ability to be isolated.
Yeah.
Because it's within a different context.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
yeah. But isn't there also that statistic that the older you get, the more friends you lose and stuff too?
Yes. And I think that it's like 10x true for men. And then give it another 10x for my particular strangeness. Yeah, it was a really weird way of saying that. No, my ego does not collapse. That's not what I mean. Somebody said that. Sorry, that went by too quickly. Women are often the social glue. Aaron, you are correct. If it wasn't for my wife, if I wasn't a business owner and I wasn't married, holy bejesus, I do worry that, oh my God, would I ever engage with other humans? My mom would call me in her defense. But beyond that, Oof.
There was like a couple weeks ago when you were out of town, and I was like, Tom, you got the house to yourself. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. I think you.
What?
Said,
How?
you
What?
Okay. You did a whole lot of things
Yes.
by yourself in your house,
Yes.
and I think we talked.
I don't leave my house.
Yeah, and then you said something like, I didn't see outside until like Sunday or something.
Yeah,
like
I literally did not step. I did not cross the magical threshold of my own home to feel the exterior world. Here's what happens, certainly right now. So remember, the right way to mentally map me is as the village storyteller, not as the village chieftain, which I think many CEOs imagine themselves as that. I do not. I became a CEO so I could tell stories. So on the weekend, the most magical time, because I live by a set of rules.
Mm-hmm.
On the weekend, I can do whatever I want. Literally anything. If I want to stare at a wall, that's my prerogative. But the thing that has a drug-like quality for me is to do something that in the moment is fun in and of itself, but it leads me towards my goals. Like that's my ultimate intoxication. And right now, because of the state of AI, I basically throw the covers off of me to get out of bed so that I can go build Project Kyzen and Coyotes of the Air Gap. Like, oh my God. Like it is literally obsessive at this point. So that's what I mean when I say collapse inside my personality, that when I am just like zoning out, the odds are that there's a story running in my mind and it can so engulf me that I will forget where I'm at.
Mm.
And I love that feeling.
I have knobs. So I feel like I can be the life of the party and be outside. And then there's certain days where I just don't want to leave my house. So I appreciate the solitude of it, but I also feel like life is balance.
Ambivert, right? That's the word for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like you're the social butterfly out of the three of us, Eunice.
I love being at home.
I feel like you're always doing something.
And she's the social butterfly of the three of us. So, yeah.
No, yeah. I feel like I'm pretty friendly. I feel like I have no problem being
Walter
extrovert.
Mitty.
That's a great movie.
It's a great reference if you want to understand. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like to that point, but
Well.
it is. That's close. That's close. Indeed. Lowell.
Cool.
Indeed.
You played around with 4.0 and the new image generation.
Yes.
This is like a game changer, according to X. A lot of people have been seeing
Changer.
It is.
character consistency.
Have you played with it?
I have.
Yeah, I am.
It's very cool.
Startled by.
I'm getting two raised eyebrows right now. This is
Yeah.
surprising. This is surprising,
bro.
All right.
So first of all, when I first heard it, I was like, no, we've already experimented with that. It's not there yet. And then as I'm going through X, I'm like, oh wait, this is something that happened today. So I'm like, maybe I haven't seen this. And so I went in and started playing with it, and I gave it only 10 training images on one of our characters from Lisa's story that she's working on called Wish Academy, and it nailed it. Style, because the main character wears this helmet because she's a superhero, but her power is empathy, and so she just can't control it, and so she wears this helmet to control it. And the helmet is so particular that when you try to describe it, even when you give it training images, it just can't do it. And so it is so obviously not her actual helmet, which is super iconic in the story, that immediately you're like, that's AI, because it's like you described it to somebody, but they've never seen it.
Yeah.
And so you're like, I get that that's supposed to be Lexi, but in the actual experience of looking at it, I know it's not. This was, holy shit, I can't tell if that's an image that we drew or that's AI. Like, I could have legitimately just sent it to Lisa and been like, you remember this image? And she'd be like, yeah, I remember that. And I'm like, no, you don't, because I just created that.
Wow.
Like, it was like that. And I was like, oh my God. Now, I've only begun to play with it, and every time I get super hyped about where AI is, like right now today, not the promise of tomorrow, but right now today, you run into a wall and you're like, nah, it's not there. So I have a feeling as I try to rotate her or put her in weird positions that it's going to start to break apart, that gut instinct. Like I will say in the early ones, it's not consistent with the way her clothes are made. So in one thing, it's like her lapel is blue, and another, the full vest is blue. And it's like, well, the training images I gave you are very consistent. So there is still an amount of it's not perfectly consistent, but at the same time, what you could do, and this, if this works, and I don't know that it does, what I need to do now is build a custom GPT around this. And if I can build a custom GPT where I can give it 100 images, now what you can do is you get it to imagine it like, okay, Lexi facing away, Lexi jumping, Lexi crawling, Lexi in a fight, and you get all of those images and they're off by 10%. You have the artist go in and correct them. Now you have a reference image that's perfect from all these different angles. I just don't know if it will get better and better and better as you train it, or if it's got like a 10 image cap. And I was trying to ask chat itself, like, hey, if I feed you more images, are you going to get better? And it was not giving me a very clear answer. So now I just need to go experiment with it. But no matter what, this was a huge step forward. I have spent hours and hours and hours trying to train every text to image, image to image, image to video, all of them on Lexi. And it's just been fail, 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 fail. I mean, it's fun and it's cool because you can tell, oh, that's supposed to be Lexi. This was the first time where I was like, that's in the style of our drawing. Like our look, it's not like wildly unusual style for comics, but it's unique. Like it's our style. Mm-hmm. It was in our style. It looked like our version of Lexi. Fucking incredible. Incredible.
Okay. So when I was on Ask...
Hold on, really fast. Inter Tenaire says, I can feel Tom's voice lighting a fire under my ass as a comic artist. Let's go, Inter Tenaire. If you are a comic book artist, this is going to increase your output dramatically. Now, if the thing that you love doing is actually moving the pencil across the page, will there be a little bit of sadness in you because you probably won't need to do that anymore? Maybe. But if what you really love is having good taste and telling good stories, I think you're going to be absolutely gobsmacked because you no longer are limited by time, money. Like you can legitimately work a job if you need to pay the bills, because there is not a lot of money in comics. Trust me, I have tried. And now, I mean, if you gave me right now, I'm going to guess, to build a 60-panel version of Lexi to a C+ quality, it would take me a day by myself. That's lettering, coloring, storyboarding it out, final compositions, making edits in a day. That's so insane.
That's where I was going to go with it. Is it because character consistency was the big thing? We couldn't lock that down with all these previous iterations of AI. Now with it being close to consistent, at least, comic books should be seeing a ramp up now. Like
my God,
it's about to be a influx of kind of like, you should be able to go 0 to your point 75-80% now, all AI, and then maybe you get a Inter Tenaire to come at the end and be like, okay, let me clean this up, let me add this background, let me kind of...
Or I'm going to be really honest. What's going to happen is people will go, I get it. Like, her jacket changes a little bit from shot to shot, whatever. And people just want the story. This is why you could make a comic with just a stick figure. If people know the story of One Punch Man, originally, the guy that did it, I think his name is One, everyone was like, art's trash, but the story's so good, I don't care. And then he finally partnered with somebody and they went back and redrew over it. But it got popular while the art was trash. So people just want really awesome, super engaging stories. And I think we're already there. Like seeing what I saw yesterday, my gut instinct is that if you can tell a good story, you're going to be able to do it now, right now. And so if you'll grant me another 12 months of improvement, because here's the thing, you're living in a world now where you've got, call it 7 or 8 different AI base models, and they're all just going to leap each other. So you don't have to wait for the next chat. Like somebody posted a meme that was like Mid-Journey working on their version 7 now that 4.0 has dropped on ChatGPT. And yeah, that's exactly right. And so now 2 months from now, they're going to come out with something that's like, oh my God, this is even better. And so a year from now, Jesus, man, it's just going to be insane.
Antonio had a good question I kind of want to pose. Antonio,
what's up?
The AI whistleblower was discussing how AI does not follow copy infringement rules. AI kills all actual human creativity.
Yeah.
And before we answer that, there's two kind of schools of thought happening right now. I feel like with DeepSeek in China, they gave them free reign to the entire Chinese database. You can scan everything. There's their AI can scan everything, no problem. I feel like on the West, we're dealing with you can't scan certain things because you're stealing from other artists' creation. But I know we talked about this before, that art inspires art. So where's that line? So do you think there's a right way to look at it, or do you think?
I do think there's a right way to look at it. And the right way to look at it from my perspective, and remember, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, because that means that you, based on what I'm about to say, you could build something based on me. And here's how that should look. If you want to build a bot that thinks like I think, that is trained on every word that I've ever said, go for it. You should be able to do that if I have made that stuff publicly available. Just like any other influencer could go out and say, okay, I now think the way that Tom thinks. Cool. And I'm going to push the same ideas that Tom is pushing. Fantastic. Go for it. You should not, however, be able to make it look like me, just as I don't think you should be able to make it look like Mickey Mouse. But you should be able to do it in Disney style, because any artist can look at Disney style and do it in that way. Or take, for instance, John Lasseter, whose name I cannot remember the last time we talked about this. John Lasseter is largely responsible for what we think of as the Pixar art style. Mm-hmm. Well, they fired John Lasseter and he went to a new company, and that company now looks like Pixar. Who owns that look? And I would say nobody. Like, if you have the ability to make it look like that, and you are trained, whether you're John Lasseter or anybody else, you should be able to make it look however the hell you want. However, you should not be able to make a character that looks like Shrek, is billed as Shrek, marketed as Shrek. You shouldn't be able to do that. Copyright infringement. But being able to learn from the way that the Shrek universe looks, you should absolutely be able to do that. So that's where I come down. If somebody wants to do something in a Miyazaki style, but they should be able to do that. However, they should not be able to say that this is a Studio Ghibli film. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be able to use their characters. Like, that to me, it's so simple. It's so clear. And when Lisa was here, we were talking about it in terms of when we were back at Quest, we got sued by the parent company of Oreos. And they said, your cookies and cream bar looks too much like Oreos. And so it's something known as trade dress. And we then said, okay, we will continue using like Oreo looking cookie things, which mm-hmm. they don't have the right to. We'll do that, but we'll change the colors a little bit and blah, 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 so that we're not infringing on your trade dress. So if you're like, hey, you're using a Disney style and you've got a creature that looks a little bit suspiciously like a duck named Donald Duck, and you've got a mouse that looks suspiciously like Mickey Mouse, yeah, I would expect people to be like, you can't fucking use Mickey Mouse. You can't make it so that people are like, oh, this is Mickey? Like, that you should not be able to do. But something done in a quote unquote Disney style, not only do people already do that, and obviously Disney does not go after them because it's just style, and you wouldn't want, like, all of these artists wouldn't want somebody coming after them for all the people that they learned from. The reality is we all learn from everybody else, and I think as it should be. But you should not be able to bill it as, like, going back to me, you should not be able to say, this is a Tom bot. You shouldn't be able to do that. That's my quote unquote trademark. So that's where I think this is all going to settle out. So if somebody makes it publicly available, AI should be able to train on it. If they don't make it publicly available, then AI should not be able to train on it.
There's a pretty good comment here from Bree, that crazy chicken lady.
Let's go, Bree.
I just like her name.
We like crazy
Let's just
chicken
start
ladies
there.
around here.
She said, Tom, we don't want AI to get better at art. We want AI to do the mundane shit so we can be creative.
That isn't true. I want AI to be better at art because I am very trapped right now because I can't tell comic stories because they are so ungodly expensive. And that medium is such a powerful way to explore stories, to get it out there, to test it in the market. And so to be able to do that without it costing me, I mean, to do an episode of a comic right now is like $3,000. So the reason that people are able to like go make a comic and put it out on Webtoon is because you've got an artist or a writer that are just willing to do it essentially for free. And then Webtoon comes along and, knowing from experience, gives you the worst contract ever of all time. And a very, very, very small number of people will ultimately make money. And the rest of the people basically just get, dare I say, Drew, they get taken advantage of in the way that the music industry takes advantage of musicians. The comic industry takes advantage of these creators. And now I can be a creator because the cost of this will be so low that it just becomes a game of two things. Can I tell a story that people find compelling? And can I get attention? Because there will be an absolute tsunami of content. Now, I'm already playing that game on YouTube, so I feel very confident.
Bringing you back to music, I remember Kanye, pre-anti-Semitic, pre-Kim Kardashian, pre-problematic. He got a lot of slack for his first album because he kind of pioneered the sampling sound, where he would take 60s, 70s, 80s soul music, old music, speed it up, like tweak the voices, and that would be the chorus or the main hook of like his songs. So some people, I remember, I think it was one rock artist who was like, Kanye's not a real musician because he's just taking from other musicians and making music on top of that.
Yep.
Kanye has transformed sound and did all his own thing. He grew to stand on his own without needing that. But even within mediums, we see that now, where somebody just put in the comments, what if we steal other people's song and what if we steal other people's ideas and just change names and ideas? And I'm like, we do that already. Lion King is Hamlet with lions. Like, it's the same story told over and over again. We just say, instead of a Jedi, it's a guy who wears a hat and has a whip. Instead of a guy with the whip, it's a transforming car. We're already telling the same 17 stories already. We just kind of tweak our personal thing. So I think just because people say AI before they start talking about it, we have this visceral response. But as artists, we already are kind of based on other art. We already are inspired by things that make us want to do something. I don't even know the plot of Coyotes of the Air Gap, but I'm sure there's some Back to the Future, some type of 80s inspiration that like is like, it's kind of like this meets that, but a little bit of this on top. And I feel like that's how all art is. Yeah, in Paprika, what led to Inception? I was like, I gotta watch this movie. No, Inception was a masterpiece. He didn't steal his ideas from anybody. And then I seen Paprika, and I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. You know what I mean? Like it happened. So I don't know. I think we're just triggered by AI, but it's not a new phenomenon. This is just
it's definitely not a new phenomenon in the sense that we all exist in a soup of ideas, and it is inevitable that we will be shaped by that, and thusly, when we reach inside of our own subconscious, it is going to hand back things. But AI itself is a new phenomenon that is really rightfully going to freak people out. And I get it. This is going to be a tremendous period of disruption, and there's going to be a whole lot of anxiety, and there's going to be all these debates, and there should be debates and all of that good stuff. I am giving you think of me as a human AI. I am giving you one line. Darius wants, they stole Lion King. I'm just giving you one angle on it. So I don't expect people to immediately agree or disagree, but I think the cat's out of the bag. This is going to happen. And so now it just becomes a question of, do we end up in a cul-de-sac where nobody's doing anything new, or does this unleash creativity because it drives the cost down? So for anybody that's traumatized about what's going on in Hollywood, where they just go with the sure bet all the time because the costs are so outrageous. I've heard that including marketing, Snow White was like $350 million.
Crazy. For it to open to like $9 million in the box office.
Yeah. Now imagine that cost. I mean, it's still going to cost something at this stage. Let's say that cost $1 million. Well, if you can put out something of that quality for $1 million, now all of a sudden we can tell a lot more stories. Now, there are second and third order consequences that look a lot like YouTube when you are able to get the cost of this stuff down, and there's just an absolute tsunami of that stuff. And now what's good? What do people pay attention to? What does that do to shared human experience? That to me is the big one. When I was a kid, it was shared human experience. And there was something really awesome about that. The way that culture works, it doesn't, I'm actually about to make a statement that some part of my subconscious tells me isn't true. Let me finish the statement. You don't move backwards culturally, but we do move in these loops. What is going to happen? That is me journaling. I will do that in my own time and come back to you. There is something there to the event horizon of not being able to predict how this is going to play out, and that I know that when I give very definitive statements about what it's going to look like, they are wrong. That's the only thing I can guarantee. Because this will have a knock-on effect that we cannot yet anticipate. It won't be all good and it won't be all bad. Just that's the way it goes. Little Witch Academy. I don't know what that is.
Little Witch Academia. Little anime there.
But is that a real thing?
That's an anime, yeah.
Little Witch Academia?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I got Lisa to watch some more My Hero Academia last night. I was very proud of that.
I saw she was wearing a My Hero Academia sweater the other day.
I saw that too.
Okay.
Huh?
Shout out to My Hero
She's got
Academia.
legit. She's watched 2 full seasons of.
Has she?
Yeah. Because I said, listen,
Oh.
this is the piece of IP that I most wish Impact Theory would have created.
Yeah.
And we need to have a shared lexicon of like what I'm trying to do. Because if you're going to be making Wish Academy, you need to understand anime because it just pops a lot harder than Western stuff for that age group. So start wrapping your head around it. And this was during COVID. It's a very different time, you know.
Levi M, why would there be a need to be a human if AI can read our biometrics in mood and then create a custom tailored movie to fit our mood far better than a human could?
Now, he's right on the thing that ought to give you pause. Yes.
Yeah, that freaks me out.
Yeah.
This content flood that we're going through now, there's going to be 1 million comics next year. There's going to be 2 million movies in 6 years. I'm okay with that, but the whole, like, I come home, it scans me, and then the TV just turns on. Nah, forget you, AI. Don't tell me what I like. You don't know me.
Oh, it knows you. It knows you better than you know you.
Surprise me. I don't want to see
Oh, it'll surprise you also. That's the thing. Like, you won't even realize you're being manipulated. This is the great irony of engaging with a custom GPT that I have told how to treat me, and then it treats me like that, and it still works. I'm like, this is the phrase I have thought to myself 1 million times. This is the psychological equivalent of masturbation. At the end of it, I still come, Drew. That's just real.
Ooh, Kit Moon to you, Drew, said, Drew, isn't your TikTok/YouTube feed already doing that?
And then I look at it and I'm like, I don't want to watch YouTube today. And I hit the button because it doesn't know me.
Sarah says,
that's just
sounds a
because
little too
it's not
Orwellian.
good enough yet. Yeah. Well, it's not Orwellian unless you're just using... Orwellian is very specifically that the government is going to control you. If you mean it just sounds dystopian and it's not a future that you want to live in, yomp.
No, but Aaron said I already have a hard time picking a movie or show to watch with the insane amount of content out. If there's even more, maybe I will need AI to pick it. That's already happening with like the Netflix top 10. Like, this is what's hot right now.
Yeah, people don't realize that you're already being so wildly influenced. Yeah. Somebody just yesterday brought up a YouTuber to me that I had never heard of. And they are, actually, no, it was the other way around. I had mentioned someone to them and I could not fathom that they didn't know who they were. It wasn't, I don't think it was Mr. Beast, but it might have been. It was someone gigantique. And they were like, who? And I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, it is crazy to think that somebody can be that kind of big. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I don't know who that is. It's like, yikes. I mean, look, there are 8 billion people on the world. On the world? Yeah, that actually is true, literally. But I did mean in the world. And that's a lot. You're not going to be able to sift through whatever percentage of those are making content. Like, even if only 100 million people are making content, you can't even watch one piece of content from all of them. No. So,
and think about how many people are not even on the internet at all.
Yeah.
Like, doing anything.
It's bananas. It's bananas.
It's crazy.
Yeti says, I didn't know Mr. Beast until maybe a year ago. Holy hell. I've never watched one of his videos. What is happening? That's crazy. Are you throwing shade at Mr. Beast? Yeah. Whoa, wait, Eric, you don't like him either?
No, that man is not right.
What? In what way?
We might have to put Eunice full screen for this. I need to take.
You better say this from your chest.
Yeah, you got a square box.
Go 10 toes down on Mr. Beast.
I can do almost 2 fully extended pull-ups. That's right.
Yay, let's go.
What?
That's amazing.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's halfway to
Thank
the
you
goal.
for setting a standard for many people out there
Yeah.
that might think that they can't do it.
Yeah.
I am being deadly serious. That is amazing.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed. Excited to be on this journey with you.
Woo!
June 1st, everybody.
June 1st.
5 is the goal, right?
5
By
is the
June
goal.
1st?
5 is the goal by
go.
June, and then 10 by the end of the year.
I think you're going to get it.
So-
killing
I'm
it.
here. I'm Team Eunice.
Thank you. Anyway, that was a little derail, but yes. I think
Fractal.
Mr. Beast, he
Fractal.
not the fractal one. I think he likes making content because of the money, not because of the content that he actually likes making. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think
No.
he's actually passionate. No. Listen.
Eunice's hot take. A new segment.
I think if he actually liked the content that he was making and the videos that he was making and like liked being in that area, he would make them longer. And as always, like he's always got like 3 to 5 people hostage at any time. You know what I mean? Like, I trapped 3 men in a bookshelf for 17 days
In a
or what, you know what I
bookshelf.
mean? Like, they're always being held hostage.
Why are you always kidnapping people, Mr.
Yeah.
Beast?
And he's like dangling money in front of them because he knows that people are like obviously willing to do whatever it takes to get out of this.
But you think it's about the money for him. That's the
100%.
part that I'm derailed
Yeah.
on.
And also, Mr. Beast, please, like, you have a beautiful smile, but you need to smile with your eyes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I look at his thumbnails, they're soulless. Like, he's like, I trapped 17 people. You know what I mean? Like, I just wish he could be like,
Outside of productions, if he liked it, the top half of his face would also smile in his thumbnails. He's saying that he doesn't smile with his eyes, so you nailed it.
yeah. So I'm just like, I just think he needs a little bit more soul to him. And I don't know. I don't know. He just gives me weird vibes. Like, you can tell he's in it for the money and like,
Money. That's where you
Yeah.
keep losing me. I don't think he's in it for the money, which is why for
If he
so
wasn't,
long he just piled. He wants to win at the game that he's playing, which is to dominate YouTube. That's why he was giving he would pile every dollar back into the videos for years and years. Now, I have a feeling that money is the wrong way to map him and that this is more about the distilled, hyper-ambitious male mind.
no.
And you have a guy that has decided my sport is YouTube and I'm going to be the greatest that ever lived.
He can be the greatest that ever lived. I just, like somebody said right here, Mr. Beast is a socially acceptable jigsaw. Yeah, because he makes
wow.
people
I never saw this angle on
because
it
Wow.
he makes people play these ridiculous games or do these ridiculous things.
because it's what people want to watch.
Well, that's what I'm like, but that's what I'm saying.
Mr. Beast is a mirror
He knows,
to humanity.
and I do not agree with watching those videos, which is why I do not agree with him. I'm just like,
Socially acceptable jigsaws, that's a mic drop because that is very much like he's one perversion away from like still off your leg and win $10 billion. Like,
no, literally.
Have you guys
that's what I'm like
read,
saying.
that's crazy.
read,
That's crazy.
not watched, have you read The Running Man?
No.
Okay. That's what Mr. Beast is. But that is a reflection of humanity. So the dystopian element of Mr. Beast from where I'm sitting is what people want to watch. So if you watched Beast Games, there was part of me that was like, uh-oh, this is literally Running Man, except for people pretend to die instead of actually dying, right? The foe getting hit by a train, the dropping down, that it's based on Squid Games.
That's what I'm saying. Also,
all
though,
of that stuff.
that whole series, the Squid Game series, was about how, you know, all these people are willing to do anything and everything for this dollar and willing to risk other people's lives and all this stuff. He watches that and he goes, you know what I could do? Real life Squid Games, even though the whole moral of that whole show was like, money isn't everything. You should look at other ways to make money or get yourself out of these holes, or like you should be happy in the moment and try to make better of your life without having to be like crazy for money and riches and fame and whatever. And he said, money though, people are willing to do stuff for, that's what I'm saying. It goes back to the money piece and how much people are willing to do for it. And he's just, I feel like I said, dangling and exploiting that for entertainment. I'm just kind of like, I don't, kind of nasty to me. And also, smile with your eyes. It's creepy. Like, yeah.
It's so interesting. So I see all of this and I don't think, oh, Mr. Beast bad. I think, ooh, humanity is fascinating. And this is a really interesting glimpse into my own mind and certainly the minds of other people. It's entertaining. And so watching it, I'm like, this is fascinating. Now, if you want to understand the way, like when I look at the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, for instance, I'm like, what is happening? What is happening? How is it possible that my wife wants to watch people be mad at each other, like episode after episode, screaming, drama, stress? I'm like, I'm getting anxiety watching this. And I don't understand that. Whereas Mr. Beast, I'm like, oh, this is cool. Watching people compete, watching all the mind games and all of that, like that's very interesting.
Mind games, though, see?
Yeah.
Socially acceptable
This is
Jigsaw.
the human experience.
But I'm saying Real Housewives of Beverly Hills compared to Mr. Beast and Mr. Beast games. Okay. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, those ladies are already hella rich. They're fighting over somebody wearing the same pair of shoes. You know what I mean? And then Mr. Beast is, like I said, exploiting these people because they're willing to do anything for a quick $1,000,000 or $400,000 or yes, I'm willing to quit right now and I'll get $6,000 because I really need $6,000 type of thing. So I'm just kind of like, there's quite a difference here versus.
Do you have beef with The Price is Right?
I was just about to go there.
Do I have beef with The Price is Right?
Yeah.
No, because you're signing up to do a show where it's like Plinko, not like a show where you're like, I'm trapping these people and I know that I'm trapping them.
But they can leave at any time.
Yeah, but the whole thing is like,
if he were actually, so I wanted to create a documentary sort of game show where we found identical twins and we locked them in a house. Now, of course, if they said, I'm out, I just can't do this anymore, they can leave. But I wanted to lock them in a house. One identical twin is on a carnivore diet and the other identical twin is on a, let's say, vegan diet.
Okay.
And you just see who's healthier at the end of this bad boy. And never to me was the drama that you lock them in the house. It's that's what you had to do to set up the thing that I really want to see, which is when somebody cannot eat anything other than what they are given in this side, meat only, and on this side, no meat, what ends up happening to these people. And the whole idea, the reason that I know the show would bang is because people are going to argue. It's going to be this, they're forced to confront their philosophy either working or not working.
Okay.
And the show only works because it gets people to have a large emotional response. That's what people want. So what's interesting to me, this is all an indictment of us, the collective human mind. To focus that on Mr. Beast and to be like, oh, he's the bad one. It's like, no, there's a reason that people in the hundreds of millions watch this stuff because he's tickling the G-spot of the human mind. Yeah. He's like, hey, I know what people want to watch. I know what they want to pay attention to. And that is the way the human mind works. This is not a guy who's unduly manipulating anybody anywhere. This is humans.
Right.
Because at some point, like as a girl from Vegas, at some point, how do you feel about they paint the roof like a sky so that you can't tell what time it is? How do you feel about the fact that they keep it cold inside? How do you feel about the fact the greatest moment of dopamine is a near miss, not a win? That people are having the most fun on a near miss, not when they win. And that's a known thing. And so people go to do it. Are you going to shut down Vegas? Like at some point, this is my whole thing. Boys and girls, your mind works a certain way. If you're not in control, you're going to be manipulated by a whole bunch of people. So what do? Do we top down it and say, I got to protect you from yourselves? This is basically becoming the transition to Gary economics here. There are people who believe that we're just going to control all this from the top down. What could go wrong, Tom? Let's just engineer the economy. And then I go, eat your kids. And I hit your eat the kids button.
Eat the kids.
And you just can't.
Yeah.
So you have to accept the human mind works in a certain way. People are going to offer entertainments. Now, if you go to The Running Man, which for those that didn't read it, it's a Stephen King novel about a dystopian future where people need money to pay for healthcare, essentially, if I remember right. And they actually do kill you. Like if you lose, you die. And the only way to win is to survive. And that, horrifying, because now people are actually dying. And so you need to put some limits on that. Now, if you really want the gross insight for everybody to be aware of, and I'll just give you the attack vector on this very show, Russia, Ukraine is the Housewives of Beverly Hills for the politically minded. Israel, Gaza is the Housewives of Atlanta for the politically minded. Like, it is the high seas drama of life and death.
People used to say that ESPN is just like male gossip.
ESPN has an element of male gossip, but it's actually a proxy for combat. So this is like getting a front row seat to your army going up against another army and watching gladiators fight in the arena.
Let me rephrase that. ESPN like desk shows about contracts.
Yeah, where now you get a gossip about all the players and stuff. But if you didn't have the combat simulator, I don't think it would work. So it rides on the back of the combat simulation. But at the end of the day, this is a human mind architecture problem, in my estimation.
Ipso facto, I just want to say, just to put a pin in my thought, he's making a spectacle out of the suffering, whereas The Price is Right is like, haha, woo, like it's an actual fun game, not like a mind game.
Have you watched a basketball team lose in Game 7 of the finals?
No.
They cry.
Yeah.
Is all of sports making a spectacle of the suffering?
It's so different, though. It's so different.
No,
like,
it's not.
It's
they are playing a game. They are choosing to play that game. Also, people in the NBA, like that's, do you know what some ridiculous percentage of athletes come from poverty? So sports is like this gladiator game for the poorest among us who raise their kids that the way you're going to get out of poverty is by playing a sport, and they see that as their way out.
Yeah.
But all along that road are the kid in the absolute depths of poverty. Watch Hoop Dreams, like the original documentary. And one of the kids, it's all these kids from the worst neighborhoods in Chicago trying to find their way out through basketball. And one of them blows his knee. Guaranteed, if you do a follow-up on that kid, life did not go well.
Oh.
And yet, what made Hoop Dreams the award-winning, long-lasting documentary, I mean, for, I'm going to say north of 10 years, people just talked about Hoop Dreams all the fucking time. And that's on the back of human drama. Human drama is the thing that we're drawn to. Humans. So the guy that made Hoop Dreams, not a bad person because he told the tale of all this drama.
Right.
Humans are drawn to the drama. Like, life is high seas drama. And when somebody can tell that story well, we want to be there for it. It's like a wildlife photographer that lets the monkey get eaten or the gazelle get devoured, whatever. The whole thing is, when you're a wildlife photographer, you don't step in and stop it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think people are, instead of going, oh, damn, the human mind is crazy. And my job, literally the very thing that Tom Bilyeu wants to be known for, and longtime listeners of me will have heard me say this so many fucking times, you're having a biological experience.
Violet said, except inflation makes prices right kind of a spectacle of suffering. Like with inflation, Price is Right is actually a drama.
I mean, inflation.
I thought it was a funny joke. I was with you, Violet. I pitched it. Sorry.
I'm just so triggered by inflation. There was somebody, though, that said, what am I talking about? I'm so curious to know what.
Mr. Beast is still a socially acceptable saw. What is
Brutus
Tom
is just
about?
He's not convinced. They didn't, I don't know which part they were referencing. But listen, tell me. What's the exact thing that you're worried about? Tom, you have to do mental gymnastics to reach the conclusion you're making. Brutus, please be specific. It's interesting. I'm realizing I'm either going to have to do work to be eternally patient, because I can find myself now getting more and more annoyed when people lob an insult with no specifics. So I have done exactly 0 mental gymnastics. What you are encountering is the map of my internal beliefs. And so if you can say, hey, that part of your internal beliefs doesn't make any sense, it doesn't make any sense for this reason, that would be amazingly helpful. I really do want the highest utility mental map humanly possible. And so I love it when people can point out the actual flaw in my thinking. What I think you're running up against is my mental map does not match your mental map. And therefore, your default assumption is that my mental map is wrong. Okay, so wait, he's there. I think it was Brutus that said it. It's not an insult. You have to go through several logic trees to compare Price is Right to Mr. Beast. I'm not the one that compared Price is Right to... Wait, okay, so what did I say about that? I'm trying to figure out if Eunice has a scale problem, because all of that to me is the same. That you have a game show that people are watching because they want to see people win and lose. And so the reason to me that those are the same is they are simply game shows on a different degree of spectacle. Ronan the Collector, what's up, brother? It is good to see you. I have no idea if you're saying something good, bad, or indifferent, but I know Ronan. Ronan has been to this house. What's
really?
up, brother? Yes.
Oh, well, welcome in, Ronan.
This is interesting because his early content was all about gifting random people large amount. This has to be Mr. Beast, and recording their reactions. 10K to a delivery pizza driver, 30K to a small streamer. Yeah, that stuff was awesome. And obviously, you've got to keep doing things that haven't been done. That's Mr. Beast's whole thing: is it's got to be new, got to be new, got to be new.
Lucky Sarita made an interesting point. Same as why women love true crime. That's weird to me. I feel like women who love, and no disrespect, like everybody loves what they want, but I don't get why watching things about murder and horrible things is exciting.
Read A Billion Wicked Thoughts. They outline this. This is an evolutionary thing, going back to your having a biological experience. The book A Billion Wicked Thoughts is, if you want to understand human psychology, is one of the most important books to read. It is absolutely fascinating. It is not for the faint of heart. They use a lot of aggressive sexual language just because that's how people do searches. So it does make your hair curl a bit. But the reason that women do that is from an evolutionary standpoint. They have to have a brain that is a detective agency. They have to figure out if you're going to be abusive as a man, if you're likely to stick around and help them raise the child, whereas a man just wants to get as many women pregnant as humanly possible. So they don't care whether that woman meets like really high criteria, really high standards. It's like, this is for them, a 5-10 minute endeavor. That's that. They can move on. Whether you die in childbirth doesn't matter to them. If they can have access to enough women, then it's like, you have a portfolio strategy, as it were. Whereas women, 9 months, then you got to raise the kid. It's high risk. And so for them, it is extremely important that they choose the right person. So women are all about relationships, partly because other women are going to help them discern what men are good and bad. The woman might help them raise children. And if you have kids, now's where you're going to want to plug their ears. My belief is that the reason the clitoris is on the outside is because from an evolutionary perspective, like if you look at bonobos that are our closest genetic relative, that there's a ton of female-female sexual contact as a way to, like, we just got in an argument, let me just touch clitoris really fast, for real.
They would touch each other, like, like clitoris to clitoris.
No, hand to clitoris.
Copy.
They don't scissor. Nice try.
Just want to make sure I'm hearing it.
Now you're doing the motion too.
Oh yeah,
I'm doing it for
just being clear.
This is for science.
It's
for biology.
That's right. It's all science. Science. Oh, chat. Welcome. What the hell are you talking about, Tom? Says Tracy Ball. Tracy, I don't know at which point you typed that, so I can't say. This fractal is wild.
Fractal.
Hey, for the record, I would like to remind chat, you are witnessing Drew's brainchild. Drew was like, hey, listen, instead of coming in hot on politics every time, we're just going to engage with chat and see where it goes. There it is. Tracy, I really believe that. I really
Okay. So finish. Correct. So you thought, or I'm sorry, the biology that you are putting together, I want to make sure I articulate your point of view correctly. Yep. It's saying that the clitoris is on the outside for conflict resolution?
That is a overly simplistic way, but I like that. Yeah.
Okay. How does that tie back to true crime and women? Like, so they need to flick the bean to decompress the heightened emotions?
No.
Bringing it all back
once
together.
You understand that women are playing a very different game than men are, think of the algorithm that's running in their brain from a survival perspective as being one largely of not combat, not spatial relations, going out and hunting, things like that, but instead being relational, because you're going to, your power will manifest not in a direct physical altercation, but instead by being savvy, like in the world of relationship management. Cool. That means that your brain is constantly asking the question, is this a friend or foe? Who are they connected to? What information can I get about this person? This is largely why women like gossip, because it's information about other people in the tribe. So it's like, oh, okay, that guy, he says really nice things, but actually he's just trying to sleep with me and then he's going to peace out. He's done that to 3 other women in the tribe. Got it. Okay, cool. That's not the guy that I want to be with. Oh, this guy is actually really good at hunting, and like he stuck around for Sally's baby and was with her until the baby was 6. That's dope. So it's things like that. In the book A Billion Wicked Thoughts, they call it the Miss Marble Detective Agency. And when you understand a female's mind as being a detective agency, now you understand why the entertainment that they seek out is about relationships, is about the biggest threats that they would face. So violent men, narcissism, all that stuff. Where they're trying to map, who is this person really? Their mind as a detective agency. I thought it was a brilliant way to look at the way that women have to parse the world versus the way that men have to parse the world. So male pornography is all about genitals, literally. Female pornography is 50 Shades of Grey. It's highly contextual, embedded inside of a relationship where the woman is trying to tame an otherwise wild man and get somebody who has massive resources and has not been willing to commit them to a single woman until her. And then she uses the things that are very specific to her as a way to tame that man. It's Beauty and the Beast with sex. That's 50 Shades of Grey.
Copy. Okay. So I get that. Women detective agency, Beauty of the Beast with sex.
Now, how do we get to the clitoris?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey.
So it's not like you don't want to spend time trying to draw a direct correlation between why women like 50 Shades of Grey and why the clitoris is on the outside, but it is nested inside of the same idea of women are hyper relational. Now, listen, there's a lot of evidence that there's a whole lot of male-male genital contact going on as well in the animal kingdom, boys and girls. Might unsettle some folks. But the one that has always been confusing to me is, hold on a second. If the way that I get a woman pregnant is by, God, if you have kids, please clear them out. I'm about to say.
Oh, hold on, Robin. Did you put your kids away? Somebody in the chat
Robin said she paused it.
She had to pause it. Robin, are the kids away? Are the kids away?
I get it. I'm surprised that people bring kids to the top.
Hide your kids button. We need to hide your kids button.
Hide the kids.
Here we go.
Okay. Disclaimer. I'm trying, Robin. Disclaimer. Now is the time. I got an air hornet.
Okay. So men have a evolutionarily placed algorithm in their brain to thrust as deeply as possible at the moment of orgasm. And by the way, when women orgasm, God, this is really going to freak people out. When women orgasm, the cervix, which I hope you guys are all up on your anatomy here, the cervix does almost like a grabbing motion. So a man, when he climaxes, has an impulse to thrust as deeply as possible to get as close to the cervix as possible. When the female orgasms, it like basically draws in the deposit. What's the least offensive word to say?
Deposit is good.
And not a mineral.
I'm trying.
There's minerals in it
as possible. And yet, the pleasure button for the woman. So we've got all this incentive to thrust deeply, and yet the thing of most pleasure for a woman is on the outside. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like that,
that's
huh?
I get it.
And so once you understand, the evolution would have tried like a whole bunch of different things, including placing the pleasure source on the inside for a female. And it said, nah, that doesn't work. Because remember, this isn't just about humans. This is millions of years of evolution. There are plenty of animals that have the equivalent of a clitoris, and they're on the outside. So it's like, huh? Wait, what? So this is Inega. Speaking of my favorite, placed on the outside. Hey, blame Drew. Blame Drew. I'm more than happy to be talking about economics right now. Okay, so
Everyone.
good morning, my love. Baby, do you need to make, if you're saying good morning to a lot of people in Greek, is it made plural or just always just galimera? So it is galimera sauce. I couldn't remember if I was making that up or if that was real.
I would just say galimera.
Right.
Good morning.
Right.
Mm.
But there is a technical way to make it plural. Anyway, distraction there from the clitoris. I think that wraps the thought.
The fractal.
That was good timing. I saw him reach for it. I'm like, I know what this is. Man, I'm so curious. Is chat with us, Drew?
Yes, you have
us
taught a
know.
lot of
You
people
just
about
stay with us
clitoris
or not?
AI. Is that how you pluralize clitoris? All the clitorises?
Dildos weren't invented until like 500 BC. That's hilarious.
This is a perfect topic for your LED wall. It's
That's what I'm talking about.
So the
That's what I'm
clitoris
talking about.
is right in this area.
Let's go.
and he gets he's like the thrust into.
We pull up anatomy charts. Oh, God, you're selling it to me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually
You're
here for
selling
this. I am here for this. Plus, the new GPT image creation, you could literally say on the fly, create me an image of an anatomy chart of the placement of the clitoris, and it will do it in real time. 30 seconds later, you can throw it up on the screen.
Nice.
Real
Tracy
talk.
You're
Ball-
selling yourself. You're selling yourself.
100%. 100%. I watched a video of a couple unwrapping their robot dog.
Oh.
And I was like, it's really happening. It's really happening.
Tracy Ball said, "Who needs a cigarette after this?"
Right?
No.
Let's go, Tracy.
I love that. Okay, we had one quick question. Then we're jumping into the deep dive with Gary Economics. Truth Devin, I tagged you. We going for it. It's coming. But Lucky Sarita said, if I can find it, she wanted to talk about the Pac-Man interview.
Okay.
For all the people that say we don't talk to the other side, we don't try to have open discourse, that episode is out and none of you guys have watched it. So please go watch it. Go engage with it.
Not doing well, Chad.
But here it is. Lucky
The
Sarita
clam has a gorilla grip.
No.
I had to. I didn't. You guys are trying to train me to read them quietly first.
Please.
I apologize.
I never.
I was like, the clam.
Someone's gonna clip that. Like,
Oh, God.
just-
Lucky Sarita said that she
I
was
love these deep dives, pun intended. Let's
No.
go. Practition her. Let's go. Okay, that one, I'm getting a t-shirt for that one. That's
okay.
amazing.
Lucky Sarita said she didn't like your answer with the deep state, and I seen a
Did
couple
not
comments.
like my answer.
Did not.
Okay.
I seen a couple comments in the video as well. Some people got the deep state. They know about the deep state. I did want to spend some time on it, just a little bit, because we got to go to Gary Economics. But her response was, I said, "Give me a deep dive. What did you not see?" And she said,
Not see or not like?
what was her takeaway that made her feel like she wasn't on the same page?
Yep.
And her answer was, the answer seemed too conspiracy theory for me. It was a non-answer answer. My study of the deep state leads me to lobbyists.
Okay. I'm always confused when people go, I hate what you said. Here's a repeat of exactly what you just said. Yeah. Here's
Clarify the position.
lobbyists are a part of the deep state problem. The reason I think calling it the deep state is the right thing to do for the outcome that I would like to achieve is I would very much like people to hear wolves howling in the background when they think of the quote unquote managerial state.
Mhm.
And that what you have is up until now, a fourth branch of government, it's probably a pretty reasonable way to think about it, that says to themselves, this dipshit will be gone in 4 years. And for the people that voted for whoever said dipshit is, it's like, that's pretty gross. And those people are, some of them are going to be grifters, are going to be people that aren't doing anything positive for the American people.
Mhm.
And by the way, to understand the words that I say, you have to work backwards from. I think the way that our country is set up right now, it is absolutely horrible for the average American. And so I'm just trying to say, hear the wolves howling in the background when I say deep state. Now, I get why that phrase, I don't have another phrase that I know will trigger a dark, ominous tone in the audience. If there was another phrase that we could separate from all the conspiracy stuff, great. But part of the reason that people bang on these conspiracy theories is not because they're accurate, but because they're groping with, there is a bad thing happening. I don't know what that bad thing is. And so when I hear crazy conspiracy theory. I'm like, at least that's a thing that acknowledges that a bad thing is happening. So sure, there's a cabal, a child sex slave cabal running out of a pizza shop. Sure. As long as it's a thing that I know is bad because system is outputting a bad thing. And because I know system is outputting a bad thing, your hypothesis about what the system is has to describe a system that outputs a bad thing. And so when I hear the phrase deep state, I'm like, that has the ominous tone that I'm looking for, even though the reality of this thing is probably far more the banality of evil than it is like clandestine spies, like doing shit. It isn't that mostly, though there is some of that, boys and girls. Remember, we do have an organization called the CIA, and they topple governments. They sold drugs, guys. Like they sold drugs.
All right.
So,
devil's advocate.
Please.
Shout out to Josh C.
Josh.
But some of the deep state is there to provide consistency across administrations.
Yeah.
It would be hard to run a country if every 4 years we change our mind.
Mm-hmm.
I love Hamilton for this because they made fun where King George was like, oh, that's your new president? Oh, he's such a small man. Oh, okay, I'm fine. You guys aren't going to do good at all. So there is something to when we change if every 4 years the complete philosophy of the United States changed, that would not be good for consistent growth long term.
Yeah. Do people hear me say that? Can you play the clip where I say everybody needs to be replaced every 4 years?
No, of course
I have a hard time finding that clip, Drew, because I've never said it.
You never said it.
Okay. So people are doing leaps of logic that go way beyond what I'm trying to convey. I am only trying to convey one thing. There's a phrase out there. It's called the deep state. It triggers a dark, ominous emotional response in people. I'm trying to, in the way that evolution will leverage things that already exist, I'm trying to leverage the fact that people will hear the alarm bell that I'm trying to sound when I say it's the managerial class is not working as intended. Now, we're already talking about this too much. So I probably need to just find another phrase because I'm triggering a set of baggage that I'm not trying to trigger. And so I'm not getting the result that I want. And so if this is like some big hang up for people and it's like, okay, well, tried it, didn't work. I'll have to find something else. But it is a problem. It is a very big problem.
Copy. All right. It's that time. Let's talk about
Shadow bureaucracy offers Ribsy. Hidden administration. Hidden administration is not bad. I like that one.
It's that time for a super chat.
Let's go.
We have a $50 super chat from Lyrith.
Damn. Lyrith. Let's
thank
go,
you for
man.
your $50 super chat.
What a joke.
Lyrith says, I believe my 6-year-old daughter has figured out I am partial to my childhood nostalgic IPs, and I can tell she really wants my attention when she asks me to play Power Rangers video game instead of her fave, My Little Pony video game. It says continued,
That is interesting.
but I have not seen another message from Lyrith.
That's a daughter that has accurately mapped the way to get her dad's attention. I'm here for that. She's going to go places in this world. She is going to go places in this world.
I love it.
And I like that Lyrith is paying enough attention to be like, uh-oh, this means that she really wants my attention, and odds are she wasn't able to get it. And so if like becomes a trigger for him, if she's talking Power Rangers, okay, we need to pump the brakes. We need to like go and do a thing.
And appreciate that, Lyrith, because she's going to turn 13 and then you're going to talk to the back of her head for 4 years.
This sounds like experience.
This sounds like something that's happening right
I don't even know this person in my house anymore. She's like, hey, Lynn, you want to watch a movie? Nah. You want to watch a TV show? Nah. You want to go do something? Nah.
She'll find her way back to you, Drew.
She will.
I know you know.
I know.
But that doesn't make this moment any easier. And because I am so grateful to you having a child and raising it well, let's belabor the point for a minute. Evolution has to get her to push away from you because she has to become her own person. And this is how evolution solved the problem for humans not coming hardwired with everything. I'm very sad to report that humans dying, at least up until now, has been very advantageous because it is how you clear the ideological underbrush that would otherwise cause a society to calcify. This is the exact reason I don't like the deep state, the underbelly class, the fuck. You had a great phrase and I've already forgotten it.
Institutional something?
Yes. So there's a great quote in science.
Institutional underbelly.
No, that was the one I didn't like.
Okay.
Although somehow the one I remembered, it was the middle one. Hidden administration.
Hidden administration. Thank you, Ripsy.
Thank you. So what ends up happening, great quote in science, science does not advance one insight at a time. It advances one funeral at a time. So the human mind tends to calcify. You try a bunch of things, only some work. You become an expert and you say, this is how things are done. Those people get into power. This is a big part of what's happening right now. In America, you have a gerontocracy. They all believe that they know the path forward, and yet they're a bunch of morons when it comes to stuff like crypto. So what you need is for them to die. Evolution has realized, oh, I need the parents to pass something on. So the parents are going to pass a value set, a way of thinking, a way of learning. But the other young people are going to educate you on what's new. And so this is why impact theory is, other than the Tom Bilyeu Show and our YouTube stuff, we are focused on kids 11 to 15 very specifically. 11 to 15 is known as the age of imprinting. It's where they drink deeply of culture instead of taking from their parents. And this is why, Lyrith, you love the Power Rangers, because I'm going to guess that you encountered them somewhere between 11 and 15. And the things you encounter between 11 and 15, the way that the mind is at that stage, nothing will ever matter more to you than the things you encounter in that age. It's absolutely fascinating. It's why I want to create content for those people, because I want to give them empowering ideas that are tied to IP that they love and care about on an emotional level, not an intellectual level. And they'll carry that with them the rest of their lives. And so then in their early years, they will bring to their own children these ideas of empowerment. And I've always said that impact theory from an entertainment perspective is a multi-generational bet. It is me saying, if I can raise a generation on these empowering ideas, they will then raise their kids on the same empowering ideas until their kids push back at 11 to 15 and go off and do their own thing. And hopefully we'll still be around and we'll be making content that they'll love, that will be all new, that will be their version of My Little Pony instead of Power Rangers. So that's the game. Now, I don't expect that to make this period feel any better, but it is necessary for the thriving of the human species.
That makes sense. And I don't remember talking to my parents in middle school and most of high school. So
I was going to say, as a lady who was once a 13-year-old girl, I do wish I hung out with my parents more when I was younger.
But now you can do it now.
Yeah, but now I just, she'll come back to you. Yeah. Now I call my mom all the time, call my dad all the time. And I'm like, I miss you guys.
That's dope. I love that.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I wish I would have hung out with them more.
all right, but we got a light.
Yeah.
We have a
Super
light
chat.
because we have $100.
Let's
super
go.
chat.
That's a super chat.
Wah, 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 wah. Hit it. Hit it. There we go.
From SMA.
SMA.
Thank you, SMA.
SMA
Round of applause in the chat.
Oh, joke.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think the founders intended for our government to be changing every 4 years and very slow because it was so small in the average American's life.
That is part of it. I can't tell if looming in the background of that is that we now need change because government is so big, or if you're saying we want to return government to being small. By the way, book recommendation. How serious do we want to get about the things I'm reading? Do we want to read?
We have a running list right
Have
now.
a running list.
Okay, so now I'm reading Alexander Hamilton by something
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Chernow. No, Ron
Yeah.
Chernow. Nice try.
Bye. Ron Chernow.
Yeah, Ron Chernow.
Got it.
It is very, very interesting. And you do get a sense of like how small government was. And that every day at 2:00, George Washington used to just walk down the street. Be like, hey, peeps, how we doing? And by the way, guess what city that was in?
New York?
Yes. The government was originally in New York,
Mm-hmm.
not in Washington, D.C. Though they had a guy doing some building designs in D.C. specifically for the government that then they moved him to D.C. So they were about to try really going ham in New York. Anyway, that's the least interesting thing about the book. Yes, the founders certainly had a different vision. They would be very surprised, let's say, by what our government looks like today in terms of its scale and scope. And there were like vicious arguments about what the government should be back then, of course, just like now. Very fascinating. But I am really trying to get a historical context for the moment that we're living through by learning more about the founding fathers and the founding documents and all that stuff. It's pretty interesting. And his story is really fascinating because of where he grew up. He grew up in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
It's a trip. Like, to think that there was a founding father, white as the driven snow, but he grew up in the Bahamas. It's interesting. Also, there is like massive speculation that his father was actually another guy in his town. So he was a bastard child. Everybody knows that. But they thought his dad was somebody that was actually married to his mom or in a relationship with his mom at one point. But one of his best friends, everyone would see them together and be like, you guys look exactly alike. Now, it isn't that. There's not a limited number of faces. There are. So it's possible. But what are the odds in your same town that a kid happens to look just like you?
Yeah, we know what happened.
So, and their families knew each other. So it's like, and his mom had massive accusations of being, is it a philanderer when it's a woman? Anyway, being unfaithful. Her husband actually put her in jail for being unfaithful for like 2 years. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So anyway, he ends up going to America when he's young as hell and is a fascinating character. Absolutely fascinating. Killed in a duel.
All right. You gotta watch Hamilton, bro. You could have learned all that.
I've seen the first
in
half
musical.
of Hamilton.
Yeah,
I knew he got killed in a duel for a long time. There was a long ago Got Milk commercial about Alexander Hamilton being killed by Aaron Burr. So you need only watch milk commercials.
I'm Aaron Burr.
Look at that. Just jumped on. You talking Hamilton?
Nailed it, Liz.
Very briefly, Liz. Very briefly.
Okay, we got to talk about this income inequality. Last chat, it spilled over. Truth Devin, shout out to the chat. Guys, this is why we do this thing. Because if Tom just wanted to talk to a blank camera, we would just do this and I would get 3 more hours of my day back. So the reason we're doing this is that we want to engage.
Drew just came in hot with that one. This show was Drew's idea.
This is the exchange of ideas. So the fact that people put Gary's economics on our radar, you had a consenting take. Truth Devil was like, you're just taking at the headline level, go through these 3 videos, break down the take, and then you'll understand what we're talking about. So I want to start at Steelman. I want to start at what do you think Gary economics message is? We'll get the chat to say, yeah, you nailed it. And then we can kind of go point by point why you think some ideas might make sense, some ideas don't make sense, and we can kind of go through it that way.
Okay, Gary's economics, forgive me, I'm going to call him Gary Economics. It's just so much easier. Gary Economics, his thesis is that income equality is the whole problem, and you solve it by taxing the assets of the ultra rich. That's literally it. If you watch those 3 videos and a whole bunch more, that is his pitch. So if we have Truth in the feed, I would love if Truth says, yeah, that's correct. Because I've watched the first half, Tammy. If people think that I'm misunderstanding, I would like to address that first, because I think people think I don't understand Gary Economics. And honestly, in doing the research, I started liking him less. I went from being like, he's really onto something. He captures like the emotional sentiment, to realizing that he wants top-down authoritarian redistribution of wealth and has no either awareness of what the actual problem is or he doesn't care. Either way, it's bad.
Okay.
So doing the deep dive, again, I want to see if
yeah, let me DJ.
Please.
So
Yeah.
you still man it. We got the thumbs up by Truth Devin. He's right. Okay.
So wait. Hold on. Before we move, chat, please, I beg of you, for my sanity, for your sanity, if somebody disagrees and they think that I'm misunderstanding him, please speak up right now, because I'm going to say a whole bunch of things and you're going to think that I'm confused about what Gary Economics is saying, instead of the truth, which is I understand Gary perfectly. He's just wrong. So I'm going to be saying a whole bunch of things that are like, he's not right. And the temptation is going to be to think that I don't understand him instead of I disagree with him. I disagree with him. One man. Everybody should make up their own mind. Watch a whole bunch of his stuff. Form your own opinion. But we end up in a death loop when people think that I say the things that I say because I am confused about Gary economics instead of I disagree. I just disagree.
Okay. And also, if you have disagreements with what Tom is saying, please be specific. Please give counterpoints. I can't just say you're dumb. That does not forward the conversation.
It just doesn't help.
Yeah. We still man Gary's argument. Now, let's take it from the individual level. The individual, how it can impact them, and then maybe we can build up that way. Because I think what gets lost in this conversation is that we begin to debate about rich taxes, and then it becomes, well, you're already rich, you don't get it. So I think that we need to have the conversation of what can the individual person do? Why is this point not helpful for them? How they won't be the benefit of what they think it would be. And then you could give me the inflation and all the things that take the lion's share of the argument.
I can't go anywhere other than to say my whole thesis about Gary economics is he does not understand or does not speak to what causes the problem. So I was going to force Drew to do a skit with me. And the skit was going to be, I was going to hand him a red ball, or I was going to start with the red ball, and Drew was going to say, what are you doing with that red ball? And then you got to give it to me. Drew represents the government, and I represent a wealthy person. I give Drew the red ball, and then under the table, he hands it back to me. And then there I am again, holding the red ball. And you then go, what are you doing with that red ball? And I hand it back to you. You hand it back to me under the table. And it would just go over and over and over. Because the problem is, Gary is right that wealth inequality is a screaming problem that must be solved. Gary does not speak about how we ended up in a position where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And so even if you do a draconian thing like he's doing and saying, I don't care if you have liquid wealth, I'm going to force you to sell your assets. You are going to sell your assets. And when you sell your assets, which he has said from his own mouth, when you sell your assets, that he doesn't say this part, but this is what will happen. When I force you to sell your assets, the cost of assets will go down. Now, in Drew's mind, that simply makes it accessible to the average person. And so remember, Tom, I only take the red ball from people making more than $50 million. Okay. You have not solved the underlying problem of what causes the wealth inequality to run away from each other. Now, in Gary's defense, he gives a bunch of reasons how once the flywheel is going, that it is a flywheel, meaning that it exacerbates itself. It's a self-reinforcing loop. So as income inequality begins to happen, then it's like he does a whole breakdown of how the poor people basically even geographically have to chase the rich people because the rich people are the only people that are creating jobs. They're the only ones with the money. And so you want to make things that rich people want to buy. It's not entirely true. He is wildly oversimplifying things. But to talk about it, you have to. So I don't have any beef with that. What he doesn't talk about is what starts the flywheel in the first place. And I'm saying if you don't get to what starts the flywheel in the first place, then all you're doing is, again, draconian, top down, is you're putting a cap and you're saying, I'm not letting anybody go beyond that cap. Why not just stop the problem from arising in the first place? Let me be very specific. Let the destruction, because Gary's saying, I'm going to be smart enough as the government to control the destruction. And so when you hit a certain level, I just take it from you. Okay, that's one way to do it. And now you make it, well, nobody can make more money than that. Okay. But again, you're doing it top down. Another way to do it is to say, in 2008, when the housing market has a problem, you let people lose their money. And when a bunch of rich people have their money in a bank and that bank acts a fool, you let people lose their money. And now you'll get like these little pockets of destruction that happen naturally that inform the system. Okay? So much of my belief system hides in that statement that inform the system. And so people understand, ooh, that was a bad idea. That was bad risk calculus. We can't give no evidence loans to people. That's a bad idea. That goes somewhere bad. Let's not do that anymore. I don't need the government to tell me. I ran an experiment. It didn't work. Now I'm going to do something different. The second you get into top down, you say the government knows better than the intelligence of the crowd, the market. Hopefully everybody knows by now that I believe the only intelligent read of history is that when you ask the government to outsmart the market, you end in disaster. And that the very fact that we have an inequality flywheel is because the government thinks that they can do things top down. So they go in and save the housing market. In fact, they created the housing bubble in the first place with all of the loans and all of the things that they were trying to do to make good on the American dream of owning a house. It was already a distortion that they were creating. Top down ends only in tyranny. Period. End of story. There are going to be second and third order consequences that you cannot begin to predict when you say we're not going to let people who make more than, call it 50 million, hold those assets. Because here is a thing where I look at, and I can tell you sort of the no-brainer thing that's going to happen, is that if you force the most intelligent capital allocators in the world to sell their assets, you no longer have a natural market signal to what companies are most valuable. You only have a signal to what stocks do people have to sell. And so do you want to distort the market like that? First of all, looking at that and saying, that's going to drive the price of assets down, which actually make assets less interesting to hold. And so the very thing that you're trying to make accessible to people, they're going to look at that and go, I don't know that I want to hold that thing, because there's a level of volatility that's forced from the top. Mm-hmm. And so now, will buying into the stock market be as advantageous as it is now? I don't know. And so there are consequences that will happen there that I seriously doubt will be in everybody's best interest. I'm going to pause there and ask of chat.
All right.
What are the things that people are confused by, need more clarity? Because remember, hopefully everybody knows my base assumption, money printing is your problem. And if you don't address money, and one more thing. So if you don't address money printing, you're going to continue to have this massive distortion in the market. And remember that eat the rich, boy, oh boy. When the government takes your money, you're back in the position that you're in now. The government already pulls in, this is the thing that you've said has radicalized you. The government already pulls in $6 trillion a year, 4 in taxes, 2 in money printing theft. You have an inefficient system already. To give that inefficient system more control, big yikes. All right, for real, I'll pause this time.
Eunice, if you can help me out as well. I'm looking for some stuff, but just in case something slips through.
Andrew W. says, Tom, you're missing the problem of resource concentration over time.
Why does he think that?
Andrew, if you would like to... he says, top-down is not the solution, but other than violence, how else do we reset?
Stop printing money.
Cope, aesthetic.
Okay. Sorry, hold on, jumping in. Stop printing money. If you stop printing money, what does that do to assets and the concentration of assets?
Assets will now be forced to respond to market forces instead of being what they call TINA. There is no alternative. I'm a savvy investor. Mm-hmm. I don't mean me literally. I'm not a savvy investor, but I'm one of the savvy investors that you're trying to get money from. I understand money printing. By the way, over the last at least 10 years, it might be longer than that, the stock market has merely matched inflation. There's in full disclosure, depending on what study you look at, there is between a 0.6 and a 0.9 correlation between money printing and the rise in prices, inflation. Mm-hmm. To me, I'm going to go with that 0.9 figure. They are the same phenomenon. So money printing is the problem. Money printing is the reason that you have wealth inequality. Money printing is the problem. The stock market is simply where people go because they know the stock market will go up with inflation. And art and gold and assets. But they're just running from money printing. You are living in an immoral world, my words.
So if they stop printing money, your belief is that they wouldn't need to buy assets because they could just leave the money in the bank account.
You use the exact right words. They wouldn't need to buy. I still want them to be able to. I love the stock market. The stock market allows corporations to aggregate capital so they can build the thing that adds value to the world. Now, if people don't believe that companies add value to the world, I think they're a level of delusional that makes them hopeless and I can't even engage with them. But if they believe it, they believe it. So corporations are how we have pulled ourselves out of poverty.
Ricky Martinez, friend of a chat, I love you. I'm just looking at you because your thing is close. I think this is a solution you haven't mentioned yet that we talked off camera about. A small amount because some of the problems like homelessness will take less than 1% of their wealth.
Oh my God.
There's a common sentiment that I'm seeing. If other people agree, let me know in the chat. I'm actively trying to talk to you guys. We're trying to solve this. If we increase the taxes on the rich, that would then help homeless people not be homeless anymore.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay, break that down.
California's thrown more money at homeless people than anybody anywhere all throughout human history, and yet the problem gets worse. America has thrown more money at education than anybody ever. We're literally like twice the rest of the world, and yet we have not moved our educational achievement scores. Throwing money at the problem through an inefficient system doesn't work. It doesn't mean that money doesn't have its place. It most certainly does, of course. But what we're proving is we have a system that does not respond well to increased amounts of money, that we are not able to yield a better outcome. Remember, right now, we are perfectly willing to print money to say, oh, if I had more money, I could solve this problem. So even though our government only brings in $4 trillion in taxes, which is just an absolutely unimaginable amount of money, and we have so much money that we're sending it to do transgender Sesame Street in Mogadishu. Money isn't the problem. We're not getting the result from our money that we want. And so when people look at that broken system and they say, you know what this system needs? It just needs more money. It's like, it won't work.
Money printing exists because the rich don't pay their fair share.
That's not true.
Break it down.
You have to ask the question, what do you want to do with the more money? So we already have, if we just tax people the way, we were already taking in $4 trillion. Bless you almost.
Thank you.
We're already taking in $4 trillion in taxes. We take in another $2 trillion in hidden taxes, and we are not able to solve the problem. So I'm not sure why people think that, because we are already just confiscating everybody's wealth. And so if taxing the rich were going to solve the problem, money printing would have solved the problem, but it doesn't solve the problem. So the question is, why do people look at, no matter how much money we take, no matter how much we print money, and if you look at the graph, can you please pull up the graph? M2 money supply graph over the last 50 years. And when you guys see this, you're going to see that we have answered the question of what does it look like when you bring on more money, and assume that we did it by taxing the rich. Okay, there it is. That's the real graph. So this is the amount of money in circulation. An easy way to say it is essentially because when you're printing money, you are taxing. There's a reason that people call it the hidden tax. So this is the answer to, does taxing people more, regardless of whether you get it from rich, you're getting it from rich, poor alike. But did taxing people solve the problem? And I think that we can all agree that the answer is no. Life is, I mean, you go back to 2019, life is not the whatever 5x, 10x better now than it was in 2019. So taking in more money doesn't solve the problem. Now, I look at that and I go, oh, okay, cool. Then taking in more money, no matter who I take it from, is not going to solve the problem. But somehow people look at that and go, no, what we need is more money, more taxes. And so the reason that I say that that isn't going to solve your problem is, as of right now, I mean, just Drew, go back to it. Look, that isn't like 10% more money. The stat is something like
6
in the
to
last
20.
5 years, we have printed like 60% of all the dollars that have ever existed over the last 250 years. Okay, it might be more than 60%. And despite that, we have not solved our problems.
So more money has not made problems go down.
More money will not solve the problem. And from where I'm sitting, the big problem is created by money printing. Asset prices are going up, raging out of control for one reason and one reason only: money printing. Now, to Gary's credit, once the flywheel gets started, then there's a whole bunch of things that exacerbate that problem. And if we were in a world where we didn't print money anymore, we had a balanced budget, and we're looking at things and we're like, man, there's still like, this is just really a problem from an income inequality problem. Then I could look at, okay, now let's talk about taxing people. But doing it right now, it won't work, which we know because we just printed some unholy amount of money. And by the way, boys and girls, the money that you're invisible taxing, if you're ever going to lean in right now. All this money that we've taxed in the last 5 years, we've taxed the entire world. This wasn't even just Americans. Inflation taxes everybody that holds dollars. In fact, it's the only argument for inflation is, well, Tom, I can tax the world. And so we did. We taxed the entire world, and it still didn't solve our problems. So given that, we have already run the experiment. We've taxed the world's wealthy, and it didn't solve the problem. And we taxed them by a lot.
Brutus Lugo.
And it didn't solve the problem.
How do you create value without printing money? How does capitalism create indefinite growth without printing money?
Okay. So there are a lot of ways that money effectively gets created. And this is the game that is played. So one, in fact, this was another thing that Gary said that I was like, actually, that's not how this works. When you give money to a bank, they create money with it. And the way that they create money is something called fractional reserve banking. And it's inflation. And we have to decide how many ways do we want to inflate the money supply? Because you want to inflate the money supply when something new is created that generates a new asset, let's call it. So they call it productivity. Mm-hmm. So when you inflate the money supply one-to-one with productivity, you're in a good place. When you money print to pay for debt, which is what we're doing now, that is the disaster that I've been describing. Now, whether we want people to keep doing fractional reserve banking is a whole nother story, because I don't know that we do. I think fractional reserve banking is its own fucking nightmare. But just to keep this narrow in scope, let's just talk about money printing to cover debts. But anyway, keeping up with productivity, yay. Surpassing that, problem. And that's why I say you want inflation to be 0, not 2%.
And that's why we want to talk about this super chat that we just got as well. Lyrith with the $20.
Let's go, Lyrith.
Lyrith, thank you for your $20.
No joke.
Lyrith says, tariffs will exponentially help pay off our debt. Make no mistake, reducing U.S. debt and stopping money printing will 100% increase the value by power of the U.S. dollar. Over time, any inflation will be lapped by dollar value.
Maybe. because you, for export reasons, you don't actually want a really strong dollar. So there's probably more complexity here than any of us want to be true. These are very complicated systems. And part of why I don't want to see top-down control is that these are very complicated systems. And so you can get yourself into deep trouble by thinking that you know all the second and third order consequences. This is why I say that Donald Trump is playing a game of chicken. So we'll see.
All right. Now, this is the big question.
Let's do it.
What's the solution then? We still need to solve these problems through the system. The private sector cannot solve this, or do you think they can? Let me identify the problem specifically.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the amount of working class people who own a percentage of assets is declining with time.
Mm-hmm.
We are at the lowest percent that has been, and I think since like post-slavery
Okay,
times.
please don't go any farther.
Yeah.
Answer out loud, why? It's inflation, everybody.
It's inflation.
That is the driver of it.
Yeah.
But if you were going to say why, you, Drew, would say they're too expensive, right?
Why can't people afford assets?
Mm-hmm.
It's too expensive. Yes.
Okay. Do you know how much you can buy a stock for?
How much can you buy a stock for?
You put in $10.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, technically you could buy penny stocks. That's not why.
Why is it?
Because people understand houses. They don't understand the stock market. The reason I say it's immoral to create a system where somebody has to go figure this shit out, just let them save. The only way that you can save money is if you stop inflating the money supply, because then $1 today is worth the same in 10 years. And so now if I'm a janitor and I can save 3% of my money, okay, cool. At least I'm socking some money away for a rainy day.
That doesn't help them buy a house, though.
No, it doesn't help them buy a house. And then you have the problem of, okay, what do we do to drive housing prices down? And I think that you have one corner of that you've already very brilliantly and articulately laid out, which is there are all kinds of distortions in the housing market that make houses go up, up, up. Money printing is the worst by far, by a country fucking mile. BlackRock going in and snatching everything up, also problem. The distortions and things that we've put into the loans, another problem. I mean, there's a whole host of things, but that's largely from government meddling. Now, I'm not a no government guy. I'm just saying we need some lighter touch regulation. We're going in the wrong direction. But if you solve money printing, that one, because remember, for the most part, your house does not go up in value. Your house just keeps up with inflation. So again, 0.9 correlation. So the reason that fewer and fewer people are buying assets is, one, they believe the system is corrupt. Two, money printing forces people into a short-term mentality. And so they start gambling on things like crypto. And then three, the one thing that sort of universally people understand, houses have become impossible from I just can't afford one perspective.
But Tom, if you tax the rich, my monthly budget will stretch further.
Why?
I'm reading a YouTube comment from our last video.
But I want to know why they think that will, like mechanistically. So a big part of my thing is people have an emotional reaction. I think that there's just resentment. They want the rich to be taxed and they don't ask, wait, how's that money getting in my pocket again? So how is that money getting in their pocket?
So tomorrow we flip a switch.
Mm-hmm.
I take 80% of Tom's net worth, whatever, over X amount of millions of dollars.
Yep.
Walk us through that. It leaves Tom's bank account. How do you think that money is then going to be used and spent and end up?
It goes into the most inefficient system the universe has ever created, and that is the U.S. government. And now the U.S. government, what do people think they're going to do? UBI checks? Is that the plan?
I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't.
If I know, so think about this.
Yeah.
If you're like, yeah, it's going to be cut as UBI checks. Okay, well, if I know that I'm not going to make $1 over 50 million, guess what I stopped trying to do? Make money over 50 million, because you're just going to confiscate it. So now I stopped doing that. And you're like, but wait, we need more UBI checks because we just cut everybody checks and now they're expecting them. And so it's not over 50 million, it's over 40 million. And then I stopped making more over 40 million because there's no incentive to do it. And then you're like, fuck, over 30 million. See how this game plays out?
Mm-hmm.
This is people who think that the miracle is redistribution. The miracle is the ability to create something so valuable that it costs me less on the input side than I can sell it for on the output side. That is ridiculously difficult. And I convinced my wife to work over Easter weekend one time in the freezing fucking cold because we had a dream that we were going to build this incredible, gigantic company. Once I'm like, well, there's no upside incentive to that, then people just stop doing it.
I'm looking
And
through,
if,
guys,
by the
give me
way, if
something.
people don't believe me, look back at history. Look back at history. This plays out over and over and over and over. Resentment leads to, you guessed it, eating the children. God, I wish that, like if I could say that with all sincerity every time I said it, we'd be in a better place, because I don't mean it figuratively. I mean, people actually end up eating their kids. It's fucking crazy.
Elkie, Tom, Drew, you mentioned closing loopholes a couple of days ago. Can you please have a conversation with Tom about it? It seems to me that he just doesn't acknowledge that issue. If you close the tax loopholes, I'll stop there. Should we close tax loopholes?
Yes. So this is another case of, I've said this over and over and over. And look, we say so many words during these things. I get it, but I think oftentimes people confuse, I didn't say it in that moment for I don't believe it. I love the idea of a really simple tax code. I think that Trump is actually working on that. Like the Ireland thing is a pretty big fucking scandal, and corporations have been able to hide money there for so long. It's crazy. Trump's like, fuck that. Nope, no more. And that's coming back. Love it. Love it. Nice, simple tax code. Make it, you're going to pay whatever. 25%, 30%, fine. Just make it flat. Nice and easy. Listen, you're barking up the wrong tree if you want me to act like the traditional rich person. I just don't play that game. I'm not like the super hyper tax efficient guy. My whole thing on an audit has always been, if you audit me, you're going to end up owing me money, not the other way around, because I'm so fucking conservative. I didn't even leave California when I knew that my company was on a fucking rocket ship to try to get my taxes down. Just like, okay, it is what it is. Like, I live in LA. I love LA. I want to be here. I don't resent paying taxes. What I resent is the inefficient use of my tax money. What scares me is that people think that confiscating the wealth of others will solve the problem, and it doesn't.
Like your Sarita said, what about the fact that banks circulate our money when they are holding it?
Yeah,
what is it only 10% the banks have to hold? Why don't we get dividends when our tax dollars create innovations, tech, etc.?
Hey, now you're asking some really good questions. And if you really want to be scared, I think it's like 9.3% or something stupid. It's not even 10%, which is crazy town. Yeah, on that one, I would need to look a lot more at how money moves through the system before I start banging I have a take on how to fix inflation via fractional reserve banking. That one I just need to do more research on. So that's why I'll say, let's stick with the way that we pay off the debt, the money printing around debt. That one I get.
If I may interrupt, we've got quite a lot of super chats here above the threshold.
Okay, I'm going to let you get to that.
Okay.
For sure. Above the threshold, we're going to do it.
They're about this specific topic, though.
That's amazing. Okay. And hopefully then these answer it. Just as a set the room. Coming into this, I think you were really eager to get me to talk about Gary economics, because you believe I'm very out of step with where the world is. And so you and I had a very long conversation yesterday where I said, I can only say what I believe to be true about how to make somebody's life better. And so even if I could be more popular or build a bigger channel or whatever by getting on that bandwagon, because I actually think it will make people's lives worse, to respect myself, I can't do it. How has this played out for you so far? Is this what you were hoping would happen? Like, are we in good dialogue with chat and it's like, oh, like we're doing the thing? Or is this feeding into your nightmare?
We're peaking right now. That's the highest viewers we had all day.
Okay. All right. Chat. Super chat. Let's
super chat time.
We have a button for that, right?
All right, we do.
Yeah.
These are actually super chats that all pertain to this. People are feeling very eager to talk to you about this.
Clearly,
So start
I'm
with
behind. Sheesh.
$49.99 super chat by Patrick Wrightson.
Man,
Patrick,
let's go.
thank you for your $49.99 super chat.
Super chat. Applause for Patrick. Thank you.
Let's go.
Patrick says, "Hey guys, great show. Gotta say, kind of wild and a little uncomfortable. How many people seem to be naively jumping into the Bolshevik-esque eat the rich pool with nothing feet simply because the populist water is warm at the moment? Mrs. is greater than Gary? Mises? M-I-S?
I'm not sure what he means by that either.
All right. Patrick, if you would
but
like
Patrick,
to...
Oh,
man,
Ludwig, the philosopher, economics, Massey.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to
Say?
research our boy.
Is it Massey? I think I heard his name before. I don't know what his theory was, though.
All right. Well, Patrick, first of all, thank you for making us all a little bit smarter.
Government intervention in the economy could never reproduce the results of a free market society.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, just as like
That's
a
his-
default stance,
yeah.
100%. Patrick, very grateful for that. And yes, I am scared. Remember, I'm scared for guys. I can catch a private flight and go wherever the fuck people aren't eating the rich. So I mean, you can believe that this is about me trying to protect my wealth, but the reality is, if I just wanted to be rich, I would go to wherever was the most friendly place. Right now, it's probably the Middle East. You go to Dubai, you throw a little bit of money around. I know at least for, what are we talking, the next 25 years, I'm not going to have to worry about getting eaten there. In fact, maybe Abu Dhabi, even more. Abu Dhabi is trying to collect the world's money. And so I would just go to Abu Dhabi and let people fucking deal with it. And I don't do that because I really want to have had a positive impact on the world. There is a reason this company is called Impact Theory. So yeah, like you, I am sad that right now that flywheel of populism gains so much steam and it usually ends badly. So, and I'll have been long gone on a private flight to somewhere safe. So it's not a me thing.
Thank you again, Patrick, for that super chat.
Thank you, Patrick. April with the $20. April says, managing
Super
money
chat.
is a significant responsibility that many do not realize involves considerable work/stress. It's easy to earn money once learned, but the next life lesson is learning how to keep/grow it.
Yeah, April, I'm with you. I never thought that I would learn about investing. My thing was I'm good at making money. I don't want to have to learn about investing, growing it. I just want to build things. But you're right, it's so powerful. And this is a big part of the thing about assets. Assets are available to people. They just would have to learn how to put their money to work. And it is a very complicated, very risky game. And if you're patient, your odds of winning go dramatically up. But the vast majority of humanity is not patient, especially not in a world where money's being printed and the value of your dollar is going down with every fucking day. Crazy but true.
Sequoia Hall with the $20. Sequoia Hall says,
Sequoia, long time listener. Let's go,
Sequoia?
Sequoia.
Sequoia says,
I literally just saw his wife via a video call yesterday. So shout out to me, pals.
They said, good balance, Tom and team. The dismantling of private company-based retirement system needs to be looked just as much as inflation. It was the way the economy used to include the middle class in the stock market.
Yeah, I would love to see private companies offering something as like a bonus, as a way to compete for talent. I don't yet know if the way that Trump is thinking about the sovereign wealth fund is the right play, but I've got to admit, like at a headline level, it's kind of sexy. My initial reaction was negative. I don't even know why. I had an initial emotional reaction that gave me pause. But the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, maybe this is the dopest shit ever. So I need to look at it more, but that would be incredible. Getting everybody attached to the sovereign wealth fund so that when you retire, it's basically this gigantic bucket of assets that's going to take care of everybody. I think is incredible. That feels like a good answer. Again, more research needs to be done on my side. But hey, has anybody done well this thing that you want to do? And there are plenty of countries that have done sovereign wealth funds well.
Not a theory. Thank you for your $20 super chat.
Hey,
Let's go. Not a theory.
Not a theory says, you
Super
cannot you cannot legislate greed. Having a lot of money is not a problem, but greed is really the cause of a lot of suffering. The reason I love this show is that you teach people who want to learn how to do better.
Not a theory. That is exceedingly kind. Thank you. I hope so. That is certainly the thing that I want to do. Yeah. May you be right.
Jethro Ekiti I'm butchering that probably. Jethro, thank you for your 15 Canadian.
Let's go.
Jethro says,
Jethro up in
agree.
Canada.
Printing money is bad, but look at the data. It's not the only thing that causes high housing. There are countries with low money printing like Switzerland and Czechia, but expensive house.
Yep. Yeah, no, we agree. Listen, to talk about these things, you have to oversimplify them so that you can follow a string of logic. Drew and I have talked many, many times because housing is a big beat for Drew. So yeah, we've talked about that a lot. There's no doubt there are plenty of other things that we would need to address as we go down that path. But while you're printing money, you are guaranteed that housing prices keep up with inflation. So you will just keep pushing that thing off into the distance. But if you solve that, you still probably want to do other things like make it so that private corporations like BlackRock cannot go in and snatch up all the houses. Things like that feel like the kind of light touch regulation that you want to do for sure.
And there's a dark side about housing that's not talked about enough is that United States is no longer a mobility like country where there was a great migration from the South to Chicago in the early 60s. There was a great migration from like the Northeast to Atlanta. Phoenix was the largest state to be moved into the last like 4 or 5 years. I don't know if it's still there, but so quite frankly, you can move to Alabama and you can find a house for $50,000. So if you really want a house to live in, there are houses that are affordable inside of America. The problem a lot of times is people who live in downtown Los Angeles want to buy a house in downtown Los Angeles, and sorry, the price is too high. Yep. So that is also the free market way of saying, like, if you really, really want a house, you could grab your family, you can move somewhere super small, super rural. You guys can work at the local shop and still make enough money to afford a house, but it just won't have a view or a skyline or a sports team. And that could be a trade-off if you really want to. So there is other things in the housing market that we're trying to cater to people's preferences. But if we're just looking at it as animals, if the bird's nest fell, the bird will just go to another tree and build another nest. If we really want a nest, there are opportunities. Detroit has houses for $50,000 right now, but you'll be living in the hood of Detroit. Maybe you can make an album and Eminem will feature on it.
Hey, look at the other side. Let's go.
Lyrith with another $20.
Lyrith, man. Damn,
Lyrith. Thank you. They said, I feel.
We got to make
Super
t-shirts for these. Like,
we got to get that LED wall and put them on the LED wall.
We just got to get an LED wall.
We just got to get the LED wall.
We would have clitoris up there.
Oh,
let's go.
Superchats.
Sold. We're buying it today, chat.
not the sold.
The thing is, I really do. I want to go look at these things because if they're good enough, man, that becomes a big part of the argument.
Eric said the dude will
Wish Academy
knocked off
art up on it.
$100K off of it.
What? Oh my God! Look at Tom's face.
Whoa. What do you mean? That's like half the price.
No, this is from the 400 guy. Yeah.
Almost 200.
Okay, wait a second.
We're getting closer.
Eric's starting to flirt with me over here.
Hey,
all right, Eric.
He's getting closer to the. Never mind.
There it is. I know right where you were headed. There's a certain letter, everybody. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter G.
Lyrith says, I feel the socialists, commies, Marxists, and silly Democrats out there are failing to get it.
Okay.
When the value of USD goes up, prices on imported foreign goods go down relative to that exchange rate. Tom, can you help with an example?
Okay. Are failing to get it. When the value of USD goes up, prices on imported foreign goods go down. So the dollar is stronger. Yes, it's true, but it's a trade-off because now you're not going to be able to export as much. So you've got to be careful. It makes foreign goods cheaper, but it makes American goods more expensive. Thomas Sowell is the right guy to listen to here. There are no solutions, only trade-offs. So right now, I think the impulse is probably right to make the dollar less valuable, not more valuable. And this is a dance that the Trump administration, I think, is playing with. Like, how do we make the dollar go down in value while remaining the world's reserve currency? It is going to be tough. It's going to be tough without driving us into recession, but it's probably good because then we can access the rest of the world and be in a good position there. So yeah, that one's not simple, unfortunately.
We have Cameron Fry with a $20 super chat.
Cameron Fry.
Cameron Fry.
Yeah.
Says,
Super chat.
Isn't wealth inequality a basic math problem? $1 million at 10% earns $100K a year, while $100K just earns $10K. The rich get richer passively, while poorer folks must aggressively save and invest just to narrow the ever-widening gap.
So in terms of your math, yes, you're correct. And this is why you have to let people make mistakes. So the reality is that people tend to go up and down the socioeconomic ladder a lot. I don't know the exact percentages. I'm guessing you could do deep research on ChatGPT and it will give you the actual answer. But when you have a system where the government does not backstop a whole bunch of industries, people bet big and they lose, and you have to let them lose. And that's why I'm saying social mobility is an up and down phenomena, and you just have to let it happen. But there are some pretty crazy stats. It's like only 15% of people end their life in the same economic class that they began it in. It's something like that. It's pretty crazy. So basically, rich people lose their money all the time. In fact, what's the surest way to lose all your money? Have a bunch of kids and split your inheritance. There is a reason that in days of old, they would pick one kid and give that one kid all the money, and all the other kids had to go fend for themselves. Why? Because as you dilute your inheritance across, even look at the Waltons. You dilute your inheritance across 5 Waltons, and then they dilute that inheritance across 30 grandchildren. And like the Rockefellers, there's a whole bunch of them. The Rockefellers, I forget all the rich people of old. There's a reason they're not the rich people of now. They all end up pissing their money away.
70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation. 90% lose their wealth by the third generation.
There it is. So, I get it. The thing you're saying is true, but people make stupid decisions all of the time. This is why you don't want to backstop markets. You have to let people lose their money. Listen, this will be the funniest fucking clip ever to play if by the end of my life, I've lost all my fucking money. But that's the game I want to play. I want to play the game where I can win and I can lose. I don't want to play a game because it is a distortion for everybody where I can only win and I can't lose. That is horrific. Mobility, social mobility, the ability to be that obscure kid from the Bahamas and come up and become one of the most powerful people in America based on merit. That's what I'm here for.
And wrap your behind off while doing it.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
That is all the super chats that have crossed the threshold.
Let's
if you guys
go.
would like to continue to the other ones, let me know. But if you
Well,
guys would like to continue the discussion.
we're an hour 2. Shouldn't we be now on to normal super chats?
Yes.
Feels like a no. Disguised.
Yes. I'm just making sure nothing fell through the cracks because I was way behind on the scroll with our conversation. Guys, I hope I answered your question. If somebody please jumps in more, I'm so glad to continue to answer it. Yes.
What happens when you try to read and talk at the same time?
I know.
Yeah.
I got caught.
Yes.
Yes, let's do super chats because I have to use the bathroom anyway.
All right. We've actually got one from I'm Truth Devin, or Truth Devin, which is actually
We know
Jethro.
Truth Devin.
Jethro Aki. They said, I'm Truth Devin. Housing prices are truly determined by demand and supply. If the buying the house know that people can afford a more expensive house, they would sell it for that.
Housing prices are truly determined by demand and supply. If the people buying the house, I assume, know that people can afford a more expensive house, they would sell for that. Yes, that's true. That's very true. However, as the value of a dollar goes down, the price to buy a house goes up. If wages don't keep pace with inflation, then you get into a losing scenario where it isn't just, it's all one for one. The housing prices go up. It's all make-believe. I used to get paid $100 and now I get paid $1,000. And so the fact that it went up by 10x doesn't matter because my wages went up. But the problem is that they don't go up in lockstep. So asset prices are going up faster than wages are going up. And therein lies part of the problem. So you're now making it to where the corporations are like, oh, we can go outbid everybody and get a hold of these houses. It's no bueno. It's no bueno. You don't want the only asset that the average person understands to be out of reach. Now, to Drew's point, you can move around. And so as a society, we have to figure out what we want to do about that. This is why open market is probably just a better thing than trying to do all this stuff top down.
You try. You can go ahead. Pass it along. Come on.
Nice jacket, by the way, Drew. I'm here for that.
I'm waiting for it.
You are.
Full screen so I can jump in.
You could just go ahead. Go ahead, sir. Come on down. Come on down. The Price is Right. The game show that we hate.
I think you could have just walked across the screen.
Game show that is making it's Price of Right is causing wealth inequality.
There it is.
That's we found it. We solved the chat.
It's done. Welcome back.
All right. We've also got another super chat by Lyrith. Lyrith says,
Lyrith.
at Cameron Fry. He's adding people.
Got it.
Sorry, you cannot boil people down to a simple math problem, though. Redistribution does not work out without the loss of rights, freedoms, and choices. Read Tom's books, please. Love you, brother.
Yeah, also
He hit him with a
true.
brother.
Also Truesies. The Machiavellians by James Burnham. That's a good one. Though that's not the one to read in this case. In this case, you want to read Red Famine, Mao the Unknown Story.
All right, we're going to have to get all the titles
yeah,
and have
those- yeah,
We got to eat the
name
kids
each
first.
one of them.
You got to eat the kids first.
Yeah. Indeed.
Philly
Indeed.
Vanilli with the
Let's go,
10
Philly.
euros. Philly says, episodes of switching between export deficit and import deficit is super important. According to, is it Mises?
I want to say
Sure.
Mise.
Mise
Mise?
feels cooler.
Figure that out. All right.
Definitely feels
According
cooler.
to Mise,
Mise.
otherwise, the debtor/importing countries can never pay off their debt. Mathematically impossible.
I have a feeling that's not probably true, but I am admittedly out over my skis. I'm going to have to read Mise and figure out exactly what they're talking about, because right now the U.S. has trade imbalances with a lot of places. And then we're racking up debt. So maybe that really does end up being true, but I don't think so. I think if you can get your spending in line, you should be fine. But yes, I can see how people can create a problem for themselves by constantly importing more than they export.
Some people said that was China's superpower because they can manipulate their currency. When they would get to that deficit level, they would just deflate their currency and then they gain that advantage.
Our shit becomes cheap again.
Yeah.
Yup. Hey, top-down control, man, might be a miserable way to live, but fuck, can you do some cool shit? Can build a building, like literally a skyscraper in 30 days.
Yeah.
It's so nuts. Yeah. There are certainly things that we can learn in terms of don't regulate yourself into oblivion.
Cameron Fry with the $10, adding Lyrith.
Uh-oh. we
got-
have a super chat
We're
battle.
having a super chat battle.
It's crazy.
Cameron says, at Lyrith, spending money to debate is definitely a trap. Haha.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cameron. But
I'm not suggesting redistribution is the answer, but I think that truth needs to be acknowledged for poorer people to make progress.
okay, so Cameron, now can you give me, because I'm not tracking, which part are you saying is the truth that needs to be acknowledged? Because all we want to do here in this chat is acknowledge. Yes. So going back, if that's what you're referring to, the fact that if you make 10% on 100K versus 10% on 10K or off $1 million or whatever, that all of those numbers are going to be different. They go away anyway. So we talked about that. One of many reasons why over time it doesn't play out like that. People just make bad choices, different things happen. And if the government isn't backstopping people, the money will move through the system.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that while money printing is a big problem, housing affordability is a big problem. If we flipped all the switches and things like that, there are people who cannot afford basic groceries today. There are people who cannot afford to buy a house today. So although we're saying taxing the rich isn't the solution, that doesn't mean the problem isn't being acknowledged. We see you, we feel what you're saying, we understand. And that goes to April's super chat that just balancing a budget is hard. Getting through your monthly expenses is hard. Deciding what goes to feeding your kids, daycare, and investing, that's a hard balance to mix. So with that being said, it is immoral to then now have to put on you need a degree in investing to just get ahead. And then on top of that, because the government is printing money at a crazy rate, the housing market is now being exacerbated. So I understand that there is things that stack on top of that. So we do want to acknowledge, Cameron, to your point, at the base level, if we just lined the rich person next to the poor person and said, just spend 10%, you'll be good. That is true. Over time, the rich would get richer in that way, to bring it all back.
Yeah. Yes. I'm not sure that was my read on Cameron's comment, but it is a beautiful thing, and I am very grateful to you to constantly ground us in empathy for people that are struggling. I think that is a beautiful thing. You know my take on this. I have a very different vision of the world, which my own wife has told me that I have become too hardened over time. So I recognize that broadcasting and receiving love has worked wonders in my marriage. And so broadcasting and receiving love is a wise thing. But here's how I view myself for the average American. I am holding a sword. I am in a loincloth, and I am covered in the blood of your enemies. That is the imagery that has helped me get through the difficulties of my own life. But I get that it's had a consequence that I have seen echoed in my own marriage, which my wife is like, but you used to be silly and playful and gentle and what she calls a soft place to land. And I admit that over time, I've become less and less of a soft place to land, and more the coach is like, hey, motherfucker, yes, the world is against you, but your job is to get fucking tough. And I'm going to be honest. I love that role a lot. And so if somebody wants to know how to use me as an AI that you only turn to in certain circumstances, I'm the guy you come to when you want the Mamba mentality. I'm not the guy you come to when you like, I just need a good cry. For better or worse. Now, my poor wife only has one husband, and I've had to find that gear, man, because as a husband, I gotta have it. That's just true. But
You're
I'm
not
on
a
YouTube.
crier. You're not a crier.
Yes, he is. Do you not remember during the live stream, the Valentine's Day live stream, when it was like, when they first started dating, Tom was the biggest crier, and then now it's Lisa? They swapped it?
This is a very misleading telling of our story. So my wife admittedly used to cry less than her husband, who rarely cries. That is a far more accurate way to look at it.
Tom, I've seen your chart.
You've seen my chart, my star chart? Yeah. Oh, dear God.
The moon told me that you're crying.
I will say, though,
The moon did tell me what
that stories will get a tear out of me long before they'll get a tear out of Lisa.
It's a Cancer.
But like when I'm in a brutal period of my life, literally no tears will be shed. None. I can't, unfortunately, use crying as a relief valve for my emotions. It doesn't work. Like the time where I most wanted to cry, like for real, like actually did the to try to get myself to cry because I needed some alleviation of the pain, was when I had that crazy rash. And I would wake up in the middle of the night just scratching myself awake because it was so miserable and it was so unrelenting. And my body just doesn't work like that.
Dang.
But if you give me like a great moment in a movie where someone sacrifices for someone they love, oh my God, okay, that will get me, admittedly.
Is there not a study that...
In fact, I told you guys the lioness almost made me cry.
So you are
We never found that thing, the clip. I got to find that clip. I think people are going to think I'm unhinged when they see what clip it was that almost made me cry.
Killing 17 people. Like,
Not
so
quite,
beautiful.
but it was that energy. It was that energy. He was like, we are unrelenting in the pursuit of our enemies or something like that. And I was like, oh, it's so weird. But it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, this light is on intentionally.
There's many super chats.
Let's keep going.
We've got RJ Johnson.
RJ, back in the house. What's up, brother?
$20 super chat. RJ says, Tom, regarding capitalism and meritocracy, have you had anybody on your show in the past to debate the concept of free will versus determinism?
Sam Harris.
Studied this extensively in my doctoral studies at Claremont. It's not clear.
Really? I feel like it's pretty clear. We are automata. There is no free will. That is my default belief. Sit with that one for a minute.
I hate it.
They can see in an fMRI that you're about to make a decision, like sometimes like 3 seconds before they say, raise your hand. The second you know what you're going to do, raise your hand. And up to 3 seconds before the person raises their hand, you can see in the brain, oh, they're going to do this.
Oh.
It's nuts.
But isn't that thing the spark that starts the free will?
3 seconds, a long delay.
Yeah, but that's like when you get hammered and you're like,
okay,
ow, or like the kid that falls and starts the knees. Like,
have you ever had a thought fall out of your mind?
Explain how that.
You're thinking of something and then it just disappears. You're like, wait, what the fuck was I thinking?
Oh, losing your train. Yeah.
Yes.
Make that thought come back. You can't. So where's your free will?
Hey, chill. What?
So there's two things.
Fix your memory. Like, I feel like me not being able to fix my short-term memory is different than my free will. I want to try to fix my memory, so.
Right, but you can't. So where's the free will? So what you're saying is I am limited by my biology. I would agree with you. That's not free will. Now, you might be able to make an argument for free won't. I have the impulse to do that thing, but I'm not going to do it. Okay, maybe. But then I can damage an area of your brain and that will go away, which means, again, you're beholden to your biology. There is no free will that sits outside of your biology. Because I believe we live in a deterministic universe where if you could track all of the variables of the given particles that bounce around, you could perfectly map what's going to happen in the future. You could perfectly map what happened in the past. I believe that that's true. We just don't have the computational power to do it.
So there's going to be a point where we get the computational power to calculate all that. AI, quantum computing.
Maybe. There are arguments that I have a feeling that these arguments don't understand the increases in algorithmic efficiency that we could achieve, but they're basically saying, and I am willing to admit, I just don't understand the truth of this, but that you would need as many atoms as there are in the universe to track all the atoms in the universe. And thusly, you'll never be able to do it. So I don't know if that's true, but you hear that said a lot by people that are much closer to the problem than I am.
Okay, there was a conspiracy theory. It didn't crack the threshold for me, but it was very interesting that Satoshi is actually a quantum computer in the future that is planting seeds in order to create itself.
It's fun as a sci-fi thing, but that strikes me as immediately stupid.
So that doesn't...
Like, of all the things to do from the future, you do that?
No, I'm just... The determinism... I'm trying to push that button. So if that doesn't line up with that, then okay, throw that example away. I struggle with that because you're telling me that your biology limits you from something, so that means you don't have free will. To me, free will is about choices, and you're saying your choices are only dictated by your biology.
Correct.
But then when I feel sad, why don't I get up and just cry all the time? Or when you wanted to cry in your room, you couldn't. So, like, you have the ability to modify to overcome your biology.
Okay, so you're going to go with free won't.
Okay, what's the difference between free will and free won't?
Free will is I can do anything I want, including, hey, there's a thought that I have lost my train of thought and I can get it back. That's free will. I can do anything. Free won't is, well, okay, I can't make that thought come back, but when I have the impulse to eat the donut, I can stop myself. See? That's free will.
Okay, so if I'm able to lose my train of thought and then, okay, yeah, I got it back. Now I have free will?
Do you know what Prader-Willi syndrome is?
No.
Okay, let's look it up. Pull it up, everybody. This one's fascinating. Anybody with a Prader-Willi child has to... Yeah, I don't know.
Willie, there it is.
There you go.
Google is listening.
So Prader-Willi syndrome, a rare genetic disorder characterized by a range of physical, intellectual, and behavioral symptoms. Here's what they do. They can't stop themselves from eating. And so they are eternally ravenously hungry. And given that they are eternally ravenously hungry, they cannot stop themselves from eating. And do they have free will? Or are they trapped in their genetic disorder? Can they say to their body, stop being hungry? Yes or no?
Stephen Hawking can't walk. So does he have free will because he wants to walk, but he can't walk? That's the same argument I'm hearing.
Yeah, trapped by his biology. But on that one, it's tough because there's mechanistic things that are breaking down.
In Prader-Willi syndrome, there's mechanism things that are breaking down at a genetic level.
Thank you for walking into that trap. So now, is it not just mechanistic systems all the way down, as I'm saying it is?
Okay. To me, will and limitations are two different things.
Okay.
So how I define free will, because I think this is a definition problem. How I define free will is you have the ability to make choices in order to create a situation, future life that you would like.
That are or are not tied to your biology.
I think that we can hack our biology. I don't think our biology is a limitation. I think our biology is a limitation of our imagination.
Okay, so we are not beholden to our biology.
I don't think so.
Okay, explain Phineas Gage. The structures of his brain were altered, and he was never the same again.
Because he got a 4x4 stuck through his head. I would never be the same again either.
Because you're beholden to your
No, because I'm pissed because I was walking around with a rail horn in my head. If Phineas Gage had
comedy.
money or some chicks, it would have been different. He might have been a little bit more friendly, but that's why I push back on that specific example.
Wait, hold on. I thought you were completely conceding the point and using humor as a way to soften the blow.
I'm tripling down.
Okay, but hold on a second.
Take me down.
How does free will exist if I can simply alter your biology and it will permanently alter everything in your life, including, by the way, the things that you can and can't say no to? Like, he couldn't stop himself from being a dick to everybody.
I think he could stop himself. I think he was being a dick because he went through that situation. There's people who gone through heartbreaks and are dicks for the next 6 months. So I'm saying that reaction of the heartbreak was times a million.
Okay, so
because of that tragic. It's PTSD versus.
Got it.
Yes.
Can I go to a Prader-Willi kid and be like, just stop being hungry, bro?
That's a genetic mutation, though.
Okay, having a bar shoot through your head is an exogenous mutation.
But that's not biology, though.
Yeah, what? The very thing that I'm altering is your brain.
So if nothing, if we're starting at a clean slate, and there is no internal malfunctions inside of a biology,
yes,
do you feel like that person has free will?
No,
you still don't think it is.
It's mechanistic
because you're pointing to specific mutations and saying, what about this? What about this? And I'm saying,
because I'm trying to get you to see that everything is downstream of the mechanisms of biology. Once you understand that you're downstream of the mechanisms of biology, you understand that you're downstream of mechanisms. Period.
Happy.
End of story. Will is like this magical thing that sits outside of biology. And I'm saying that thing doesn't exist. You are just a bunch of processes running. Period. And so all the things that we think of as ourselves is all of these processes. And if I want to change you, I simply disrupt your processes. This is why you can take ecstasy and all of a sudden you feel different. Because it just disrupts the neurochemistry of your brain and you can't stop it from happening. I don't have to tell you I did it. It just happens. This is why roofies work. You can't be like, I know I was just roofied and I'm not going to give in. Nope. It's all mechanistic. And once that train starts happening, unless I inject you with like adrenaline or something that will combat those things, the physiology is going to take place. And so I'm just saying that's what it always is, always and forever, top to bottom. There's nothing that exists outside of your biology. Now, there are two books. If you read them, I would be very fascinated to see anybody read the book by Robert Sapolsky called Determined, about how humans don't have free will. He attacks it from every conceivable angle. I interviewed him. You can watch it. Not my finest interview because he and I basically just agree the whole time. But it's tough, man. I don't know. The only way to escape that book is to just appeal to faith. I don't think there's any logical way to go, oh, here's where it exists. Like, he really traps people with physics, with everything. I mean, he knows all the arguments and just follows people down. Now, to me, that doesn't bother me because acting as if you have no free will is pointless. So don't act as if you do have free will. So even though I don't think I do, I don't behave like I don't have free will. I behave like I have free will. It's the only logical way to act. And I am perfectly willing to accept that for whatever reason, because of my stars, I can't help but not care about the fact that I don't have free will. Okay, fine. Doesn't feel like that. Feels like I have free will. Feels like I can do what I want. And so living from that context feels awesome. So hi, here we are. You are in a simulation. Somebody just said that. Indeed. Ricky, you know what's up. Caffeine says it's a difficult audiobook. I don't remember that. It's dense, to be sure.
We have more super chats we need to get back to.
We have a lot of super chats.
But hard luck, Pete, in the wrong way street. Shout out to you guys just because you're on my side. It's easy to prove free will exists. Drew, ask Tom what's more important to him, talking to you or making sure his wife knows she loves him. Then ask him to call her and tell her that.
What? So I'm just saying I'm pre-programmed to respond to that in a certain way. Drew, explain that to me. I don't understand. That's so self-evidently exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, back to the super chats. I don't want to argue about this anymore. I don't know.
Drew's like, this is bad TV.
No, it's not bad TV. I'm losing. That's what it is. I think we over-index on what we think is determined, and we have an ability to change that. I don't want this to be a buzz on anybody. I don't want this to be an attack on anybody. But I feel like depression is an easy one where like somebody's like, I'm not really in the mood to do this thing. And they let that determine what their choices are, their things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, while yes, we can attribute certain changes in personality, certain changes in choices due to physiological pressures, due to drugs, due to biology, I do think there's something under all of that that determines how you dictate the direction of your life. And I think that even if Phineas Gage put the thing through his head and became addicted to everybody, if he was in a different environment, if he was in a different external situation, I think his internal demeanor could have changed. I don't think he was fundamentally unable to change. I feel he was fundamentally unwilling to change. I don't know Phineas, so I guess that's just my projection on it.
Here's the thing. I want people to act in accordance to what you just said, even though it isn't true. And so continuing to go ham on my position, nobody should act like they don't have free will. Everybody should act like they do have free will. And I actually hate the takeaway of the book Determined. It's basically you can't blame anybody for anything. And I'm like, bad takeaway. That does not lead anywhere interesting. And so it's like, I know you just killed my baby, but you couldn't help it. It's all good. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I am going to respond with the fury of 10,000 suns. And if we're both just playing out a script, so be it.
Copy. Okay, sorry. Eunice, super chats. Sorry, guys.
We're back
Yeah,
to the
super
super
chat.
chats.
Let's go. Eunice, are we going to be able to count on more singing?
Nope.
Can we like record that? That would have been a good thing.
That would have been. We got to get
We
everybody in
got
front
some
of
more
the...
super chats.
the
Every
mic.
time I press that. Yeah, we might have to chop that out, Eric. I need that.
Cameron Fry with another $10.
Let's go, Cameron
Thank
Fry.
you,
Cameron Fry says, yes, I have free will. I have no choice but to have it. That is a
Ayo.
quote by Christopher Hitchens. P.S. I hope my wife doesn't think I have free will when she sees my super chat, expecting me with a hand over the eyes emoji.
This
Well done.
is awesome. Cameron Fry.
Well
that
done,
is
Cameron.
amazing. Well played, good sir. That is funny. I like that.
We've got
That's a
here.
great quote from Hitchens.
Hitchens. Christopher Hitchens.
The one and only who passed away from cancer. Very sad.
Oh. Why is it the way that you said that? I don't. Very sad.
It's very sad. Very sad. But my
Lyrith
favorite. Help.
with $20 again.
Let's go,
Lyrith.
Lyrith.
Lyrith says, ability to predict choice of another is not the same as that person not having the free will to choose to do a thing, especially since that predictive validity given QT can only use probability to guess, never 100%.
Is QT quantum tunneling? Is that what he's saying?
QT is like, oh, I'm cute.
No way. I have a feeling that is
QT
not
is
actually.
quality time, obviously.
There it is. For sure.
I thought it was
Clearly what he means.
I thought it was quantum theory, so that's where I was at. I've been watching too much Spider-Man.
It could be. It could be quantum theory.
Yeah.
For sure.
Quantum
I
theory. Someone in
assume the
chat.
Q stands for
Lyrith said quantum
Hold on.
theory.
There we go.
Quantum.
Lyrith
All right.
said quantum.
We'll believe him since he's the one that typed it.
Yeah, that's exactly what Lyrith said. Yep.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
We've got, let me scroll because there's been quite a few. Jethro. With a Canadian $10. They said,
up,
I
B-Rob?
agree. Free market is amazing. Money printing is bad, but you're missing affordable housing. How can that be solved with, how this can be solved is with government intervention like public housing, land lease system, and buyer's stamp.
That would be the Mises quote of government intervention into a free market is never the way to solve it.
But you're missing affordable housing. Well, so I think if you're going to do government intervention, I think you want to keep it as light as possible. And the thing that we have talked about many, many times here is not letting corporations, so obviously stop money printing, but then not letting corporations buy up all the single family homes. That's probably a very good idea. Letting people, reducing some of the restrictions on home building so that you can build more houses, that building a house isn't as expensive, on and on. There are going to be a host of things that you can do for sure that will be very light touch or simply removing regulations rather than adding more and more and more to let that market begin to rebalance itself. That would be my gut instinct.
Public housing is also known as project housing.
Oof.
You know how those things go.
Read, there are no children here.
Yeah.
It will very quickly make you go, huh, There are real problems to the projects. So that was
Giving
about
us
Caprini Green.
20 books to read this live. He said, you better read this. You better read that. You better read The Running Man. You better read A Billion Wicked Thoughts. You better read Alexander Hamilton by Ron,
I think.
Ron Chernovsky or whatever his name. Chernav. You better
man, reading is awesome.
bring your book reports to the next live, everybody. MLA format. Okay.
I support this. I support this. I'm Tom Bilyeu and I support this message. That is for sure. It's good. I like it. I like it, Eunice. I like where you're at. Let's get people reading.
Let's get people
read. And also, if you're not creating custom GPTs, you are missing out, man. I don't know how else to say it. Start playing with AI.
Could we also just add in the Jethro one right under that? I'm going to read out for the Canadian $5. Thank you, Jethro. Using tax to stop the rich from buying multiple housing like Singapore and China, it helps to reduce housing for the average people. So I know that was a bookend to the last thing you said, Jethro, a.k.a. Truth Evan. Yeah, with Tom, stop money printing, remove corporations from owning houses, increasing building supply. I feel like doing those three things, the housing supply increases by at least 35-40%, and that significantly reduces prices. So
I have a feeling we're making that number up, but it feels right. I'm not deep dive on housing. Yeah. I just want to acknowledge that.
I know corporate ownership of houses is north of 30%. So I just thought another 10 for building, like another 10% of more houses if you just took all building regulations off. That was my
gut instinct.
math.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So
all right. Word.
We've got a first-time super chatter.
Let's go.
Jamario Kelly.
Jamario.
Thank you for the 1999 super chat.
Jamario.
You can't think a thought before you think it. You didn't create the conditions that caused that thought to arise in the first place. How can you say you willed it? It's like watching a movie and thinking you're the director.
Jamario,
whose side are you on? Whose side are you on?
Jamario.
We need a boo button.
Truth.
Can we have a boo button?
No, Jamario. I'm clapping. I'm clapping, man. Let's go. Jamario said it just right. I like that a lot. Coming in hot.
That was a great analogy.
And you got Tom with the film reference too.
Yeah,
I know.
That was a really good analogy.
Jamario pulling out the dad come play with Power Rangers. Hey, Jamario knows how to get my attention. Let's go.
Also, nice profile picture. Are you in France? What's that ability magic? Let's see. There it is.
All right.
Yes.
Getting. I think Drew's about to slide in your DMs here.
Whoa.
Let's go.
We've got another first-time super chatter from Greg Huffman. Greg, thank you for your $9.99. Greg has no comment or topic attached to it. It's just a sign of love here.
Love
Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
We've got many more. Oh my gosh. Okay. Where was I? Before I scroll down. We've got Philly Vanilli with a follow-up super chat to 10 euros. They said, follow-up. The point is that exporters such as Germany and China are digging their own grave by never importing more than exporting because their buyers/debtors go bankrupt by not being able to repay.
I'm going to have to look into that more. I don't have an intuitive understanding of why that would be bad, especially because China is... I mean, look, they've got economic problems right now, but I think that's more a housing manipulation than that is the fact that they export so much. The usual complaint that people have when you talk about a discrepancy where you're exporting is that the people in your own country don't get to take advantage of the things that you make. And so it's always a fantasy to make a bunch of stuff that your own people get to use. And then the rest of the world is also sending you stuff. And so now you get all the things as well as the money. So if you're able to export and keep things in home, you're doing very, very good. So I'll have to spend some more time with that before I feel like I have anything to add.
There was that Rick and Morty fight when he was fighting the president, and the president was like, "You're gonna blow up the White House," and then Rick was like, "No, because China owns it," or something like that. And I always thought that was funny. That like we're one of the largest debtors to China. Like we owe them a bunch of money. So it's like, yes, they'll go to war with us, but I would rather have somebody who's perpetually in debt to me than somebody I like.
Yeah, but this is why it's scary that they're now selling off fast.
Yeah.
Fast. So yeah, we definitely need a China button because Let me tell you, man.
China.
I am thinking a lot about China. Oh boy, China is going to be a lot of our future, man. China about to be a real focus. I think people ignore what's happening there at their own peril. And a lot of my economic talk is not going to make sense if you don't understand what I believe is going to happen with China. So, woof. Welcome to growing up in a Cold War, y'all. Welcome to it. Can't wait to see this generation's version of Red Dawn. I used to have that nightmare a lot.
Never seen it?
A lot. You have to see it when you're 12 for it to really freak you out. If you saw it now, you'd be like, what? But like, I'll never forget that opening shot of kids are in class and just like, imagine a normal school class scene, but in the background, just no mention of it. You just see like paratroopers parachuting into frame, but like in the background.
Yeah.
So like at first you probably don't notice the first guy.
Yeah.
And the second one, and the fifth one, and then the 10th one. And then people start going to the window and being like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
And they just invade this small town in America and take it over. It's crazy.
And you thought that was going to be you in Puyallup?
Literally 100% thought that was going to be
That's what I'm saying. That's why it hits. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Dude, when you're 8 and everybody's just talking about get under the desk when the nuclear bombs go off.
Not get under the desk.
Yeah,
what are you going to do there?
100%. Pretend that you're going to survive. You've got to reassure the people. It was crazy. And that really influenced my generation of kids growing up for sure. Like, and I remember I was probably 11 talking to my other neighbors who were a little bit younger than me and being like, no, there's this thing called mutually assured destruction. Like imagine being 11 and calming your neighbors down by saying, they're not going to shoot nuclear weapons at us because then we would just shoot a bunch of nuclear weapons back at them.
You're saying this at 11?
Yes.
Tom, that is why you are the way that you are.
No.
Huh?
That's growing up in a Cold War. If you want to know the one that speaks to, was that my wife?
No,
the help.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so hilarious. God, I love that so much. I watched that clip again last night. It's like your favorite movie when it comes on. If that goes by on my feed, I'm stopping 100% of the time. I'm watching the whole thing. You want to try wasabi? No. You sure? No. Smell it. Help. Oh, God, it's so good.
That poor baby.
So good. So funny.
All right,
Let us move on to another super chat by Ariane Brown with the $10.
Brown.
They said, hey, Tom and crew.
What's up?
What are your honest thoughts about the pyramids? Do you think ancient cultures had access to electrical distribution? And has AI and robotics been created before?
Ooh.
I am pulling from a probably overly finite number of potential solutions because I have not thought a lot about it. But given that I have encountered ancient civilizations guy, what's his name? Graham Hancock. There we go.
Got it.
Given that I have encountered Graham Hancock's idea, I like that idea that the Younger Dryas period was a cataclysmic flood. Something happened and that wiped out these established civilizations. And a few of them survived and they traveled around basically trying to reseed, given that we are a creature that learns from culture, trying to reseed culture as fast as they can. So it's certainly possible that all these like megalithic structures that you see were able to be built because we had ingenuity that either then got lost when the library in Alexandria burned down or something like dark. I don't know. I don't know how we then lost that knowledge again. But I could certainly see why it seems like these very advanced civilizations pop up. Because there was like Atlantis being a real place, but before the Younger Dryas period. And I don't know if I have all those timelines right. So just very much like the thinking being there was a previous civilization that not advanced like we're advanced today. I do not believe that. Because if you were, you wouldn't have buildings like the pyramids. That's still like clearly there's things missing like silicon chips and stuff like that. They wouldn't have built like that if they were advanced in the same way that we are. I seriously doubt that it was aliens, but that's just a default base assumption. And honestly, the thing that I believe more and more over time is that this really is a simulation and that when you set it running, you're like, oh, wow, that's crazy. We get dinosaurs for 165 million simulated years That's interesting. Oh shit, they got hit by a fucking meteor. That's crazy. Like I can just see the kid whose science fair project this is standing back and being like, yo, that's nuts. Because I think what you have is a set of rules, and that set of rules gives birth to the universe. This is why I'm obsessed with game design. That you can create rules, you make minor tweaks to the rules, and then wildly different things happen. And that most tweaks, everything just falls apart and nothing interesting happens, which is why they say our universe is too finely tuned to be an accident. The fact that we're not locally real, like there's just so many things that add up to this being a simulation that, again, like the only thing I know is that my frame of reference is probably so skewed. I just can't imagine what the reality is. But simulation becomes a really cool proxy for what's actually happening, which, by the way, speaking of another thing I'm reading, there is a new course. This is a former guest that we had on the show named Annika Harris, Sam Harris's wife, put out a new, I think the right way to think about it is a course, but they're labeling it more as a book. It's called Lights On. And it's her doing a bunch of these interviews with people about the fact that what's fundamental is consciousness. So imagine rocks have consciousness. Your liver has consciousness. And consciousness as defined simply as it feels like something to be that thing. So it feels like something to be a rock. It feels like something to be a liver. And if so, it feels like something to be a neutrino. Like, it doesn't seem possible, but it's another way of grappling with, it's another thing that my limited understanding of her concepts goes, oh, that's us basically trying to grapple with the fact that everything has to draw resources from the simulation, and that what every particle is quote unquote aware of is the underlying structure of the computation. That's one of those, I'm now deep in sci-fi writer territory where other people will be like, that's fucking moronic. So you can't take anything seriously that I'm saying about that, just that it is a fascinating exploration of how deeply placed is consciousness. It's a pretty interesting question.
We have so many super chats.
Yeah, we do.
Have
Let's
to get
go.
Through.
I need to know, do we have to record an episode today, or is this all we have to get done today?
We do have to record an episode today.
Okay, fuck. Like, we haven't even started talking about, like, the world.
The world.
So what time do we have to tap out of chat? It's got to be close.
Yeah, we're getting there. We got to get through these super chats.
We have a lot.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
Let's speed run.
No. Hey, we're going to
right.
give them all the due time and attention that they need. However, as today's setup is a experiment, we will probably in the future need to have a point at which we start going through the things. Like, I get we don't want me coming in super hot on like whatever the politics of the day is. I get that part of the experiment. And if you guys tell me that the numbers were great today, amazing, then this is wonderful and a better way forward. But it will then take us 2 hours to do the 60 minutes at the end, because we'll have to sit down, what's popping off, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. No, so the first three topics we hit already. There's one thing about the leaked signal text chat that Pete Hegseth and the reporter got looped into. There's a new fusion rocket that's going to make interplanetary travel possible, cut the time in half. And then I think we should hit this income inequality thing from this perspective as well on the main episode. So that was where I was going with the episode. I think the Mr. Beast fractal and the clitoris fractal kind of hurt us.
Don't you dare speak ill of the clitoris fractal.
But it was fun. So that's why, sometimes good TV is good TV. We have to break the plan. But
yeah. Oh, I'm so curious to know if that actually was popular. Okay. Super chats. Take us through. Let's go. You guys, we cannot express enough the depth of our gratitude for the super chats. You guys are incredibly generous. It makes us feel very supported. Speaking for myself, it is certainly a data point that I take very seriously. Okay, with that,
we've got Michael Rudolphson with SEK 269, which I don't know how much money that actually is.
$1.52.
Is it? Well, it's orange.
$26.82.
So I know it's above 20.
Nice.
Michael says, I am a regular employee and my task has been to evaluate and teach a new recruit, but it didn't work. So you tell your boss why it isn't working. Now they get fired because of it. What is your take on the guilt of it? The guilt because of it.
If you want me to have guilt on that one, unfortunately, I cannot. You have to protect the organism over everything. Your job as a business leader is to make sure that you are adding value to the world, that you are able to make a product that people want, such that the inputs are less than the outputs. So it takes you less value to create the thing than people are willing to pay for it when you get on the other side. And unfortunately, companies are not nameless, faceless organizations. They are just a collection of real people that can either deliver a result or they cannot. Now, if you want to feel a little bit better, hope that that person is able to go find something that's better suited to their talents. I get that. But as the person that has to pay out of my own pocket, if we're not profitable, it's like you get sober real fast because nobody's going to be like, oh, it's okay if you don't pay my salary this week. So yeah. Like the company has to be high functioning. People have got to be able to contribute. Now, if you are the reason that that person wasn't able to thrive, that's really shitty. And then you've got to look at yourself like, I'm doing a thing that's making it impossible for people to thrive here. But if somebody is not able to meet the needs of the job, unfortunately, you cannot look at that from a sense of guilt because you will drag the whole company down. I know that people don't want this to be true, but companies are competition. You are in competition. There are only so many dollars to go around. Only so many companies are going to survive. 96% of companies fail to make it to $10 million in revenue. So we got to have the best of the best. I think of it like an athletic team. It's not a family. You got to earn your spot on that court every single day.
Boom.
There it is. Don't expect it to be popular, but that's true.
Brutus Lugo says, should money printing be zero or should money be printed steadily? If a component of capitalism is indefinite growth, how would that work without printing?
Okay, so this is an incredibly complicated question. We have to begin teasing this out. Just like crisis-led deflation is horrific and innovation-led deflation is the holy grail, sounds like the same phenomenon, but they are actually wildly different. The same with money printing. Money printing to cover your debts is all bad all the time. Money printing to ensure velocity of dollars through a sensible system that I'll say keeps inflation at zero. So you're just staying. You're saying this is how many new things are being brought into the world, and we want to keep inflation steady. With things getting cheaper over time based on the innovation, but you're creating enough new stuff that it all balances out when you look at a basket of goods. My gut is that's where you want to be. Now, admittedly, I want to look more at fractional reserve banking because that's one of the other ways that you get money into the system that is supposed to hew closer to a thing was created. So for instance, I give you a loan to build a business. Cool. Now that business brought something into the world. And so they roughly balance out. I give you a loan to build a house. Cool. Those things balance out. So I don't want to baby out with the bathwater because they sound like the same phenomenon because it does inflate the money supply, but it is not done to meet the needs of debt. So again, we've got to pull these things apart, and I've got intellectual work to do over on the fractional reserve banking side.
Julius Francis, thank you for your super chat. They said solo leveling. I made a project in ChatGPT, named itself Spark, to act the same as Sung Jinwoo's system for missions and personal growth. Crazy.
That's awesome. Now, this is where we get into, Julius, would you please post on Twitter, tag me on it, probably DM me is actually even better because I might miss the tag. I want to see what you're creating. I could not be more interested in this. So please tag your boy. I want to see what the levels of this stuff are. Now, from a trademark perspective, obviously you're going to need to differentiate yourself enough because if you were to 1-for-1 match their power system, I think that feels like trade dress to me. They ought to be able to come after you for that. But if you were like, I'm very inspired by the Nen system in Hunter x Hunter. So that's something I'm trying to build into Project Kyzen. So I totally get being inspired by something, but I just want to make sure that all of us hold ourselves accountable to putting a new spin on it and make sure we're learning from the people that have come before us, but not just outright aping them, just as an emotional peel there. But I'm super excited to see what you've done.
Work hard _Hodl BTC says, if Drew, Tom, and Eunice were Usher, Lil Jon, and Luda, who would be who?
Unexpected question of the day award. Okay. Because I want to yell all the time. Turn down for what? Like that guy makes me laugh. So I'm going to take Little John.
Okay.
I can't dance either. So we definitely don't want me being.
How about you answer for who we would be, and then Drew, your take on it. So Tom, who would I be and who would Drew be as well?
Do you have? Can you pull the comedy off of Luda? I think you have maximum suave, so I'm making you Luda. You sang today, so I'm gonna make you.
Oh man.
Usher.
I'm Usher.
Usher, baby.
That's who I didn't know.
But although you're quite musical.
Yes,
so
he
did
is.
we make a mistake there? Can you dance?
Yes, he can.
Come on.
Okay. Well, then we give Drew becomes Usher, and we're going to need you to up the comedy output over here.
I am the comedy here. What are you talking about? Up the comedy.
Coming in hot. There we go. Then we've placed it all
We have it solved.
There it is.
I'm not mad at that take. That's pretty accurate for me.
All right,
I wouldn't change it.
Same thing?
Yeah.
Same
probably.
thing? I don't know much about Ludacris, so I wasn't going to give myself Ludacris.
Who would you give yourself that?
I didn't want Usher, so I was just going to say Lil Jon just because I do
We're
like
fighting over Little John.
Shots.
Right?
Shots.
See? Okay, so we're definitely drawn to the
good.
same
I don't really like taking shots, but the music's fine.
I just love all the sound effects he makes.
Yeah.
They're fucking hilarious. And the number of times that I've yelled at my wife, turn down for what? Yeah.
Great question.
Great question.
There it
Thank
is.
you.
Well worth it.
I love it. All right, on to the next super chat. We've got Brutus again. Thank you, Brutus, for your continued support. Brutus says, ask ChatGPT the negatives of not printing money and refute a few points.
So first of all, that is brilliant in terms of asking it to challenge your beliefs. I think is amazing. Given how many that we have to go through, we're going to have to speed run this one because you could do a whole episode. Okay, so you asked it, and this is the answer. Okay, here are the negatives or potential downsides of not printing money or refraining from monetary expansion. Okay, deflationary risks. Without increasing the money supply, the economy could slip into deflation, meaning prices continuously fall. Remember, we want prices to fall via innovation-led deflation. So being overly afraid, and I have challenged chat on this, and I know it will take the exact opposite side, and it'll be like, you're right. There is a very big difference between crisis-led deflation and innovation. So I know it crumbles like a house of cards when you push it on that one. So I'm going to say that one's not default bad, but this is why I say that you don't want to necessarily race. I need to do the intellectual work to figure out if we need something like fractional reserve banking. Like, what are the other mechanisms that we can do that aren't just going to debt, that aren't confiscating wealth to an inefficient system? Because you do want things like using debt to start a company. Things like that are good. So my gut instinct is that it's going to be something where you're giving debt on some sort of sensible basis to create things. And as long as the thing that you're giving the debt to creates a thing or has a shot at creating the thing, because of course there are no guarantees, then it's probably good. So I have this like default emotion that working through banking is probably the play, because now you're giving people loans to do a thing versus the government overspending and you just stealing from everybody to pay for that. That's my gut. Again, more intellectual work needs to be done on my side. Economic recession or depression. Limiting money supply growth reduces liquidity. This is known as velocity of money. So I was talking about this earlier. Making it harder for business to borrow. We've already talked about that. Increased unemployment. Tighter monetary policy, less money printing can slow business activity. This is all coming back to the same thing. You do need a way for money to hit zero inflation on balance. Is my instinct. More intellectual work needs to be done. But my gut instinct is that to get an economy working well in the way that we have used it to pull people out of poverty, you want the capital to go things that create jobs, that the jobs are predicated on a company that could go out of business if it doesn't deliver something of enough value to people. Okay, I'm going to stop us here because I can feel that my worldview is snapping into place well. And so you're just going to hear me saying more of the same things. You need a way for money to get into the system, but it needs to be in a way where the government isn't intervening, such that this is like a rules-based world. So rather than going, uh-oh, bad thing happened, come in quick, solve this problem. You just go, here are the rules of the capitalist game. Some people are going to win sometimes, they're going to lose other times, and when they get hit by a freight train, it is what it is. That's my instinct. And given that at least in this very, very rapid thing has played out, I will need more time to see if there are gotchas that I'm not yet thinking through. But that all feels right. I think it's going to be the same thing. It's going to address all these things.
Dylan Bliss, thank you for your first ever super chat on a live stream. Dylan Bliss says, Bitcoin ends money printing. All countries will buy.
No, that's not true. Bitcoin gives people a way to avoid getting shot in the face by money printing, but it is simply another asset that will inflate with money printing. It won't end it.
We've got Esoteric Dichotomy saying money printing is also because we overspend.
Yes.
Entitlements currently aren't sustainable.
Correct.
We need more production, construction, creation, building.
I'm with him. He is correct.
Dubstep Kid 801 says, Tom, if you get a chance, check out my idea I shared.
Is this in Discord?
It is in Discord, and I will send it over to you.
Can you give me like a real quick, is it short or is it long?
It is very long. And
can't do very long stuff, unfortunately.
It is very long, and it is pretty much an interaction they had with ChatGPT.
Okay, Dubstep, give me the log line. Give me the log line. So I'll give you an example. This is super self-indulgent, but I'll give you the log line of Coyotes of the Air Gap so you can see the kind of thing that I'm looking for. This is the log line for Coyotes. A rogue team of digital coyotes smuggle people across servers as they try to unravel the mystery of an orphan boy the system admins will do anything to erase. This is glitchcore battle anime with cyberpunk frosting. Give me your breakdown like that, and then I'll give you a reaction. But I have so many things going on that it is impossible for me to wade through a long creative idea. Also, I think legally I probably shouldn't. But yeah, give me your log line. Be interested to hear it.
Another super chat from Brutus. Brutus again, thank you.
Thank you, Brutus.
Brutus says, if the rich stop making money over 50 million, their companies still generate billions, and their incentives now might be to pay their employees more.
How would that be the incentive?
Because I can't make 55 million, so my extra 5 million, I'm just going to pay to Eunice and Drew.
And that lines up with what you know about human nature.
Yeah, of course. When I have extra, I just give it to the people around me.
Uh-huh. I think that's called sarcasm. I think people don't understand what risk and reward is. So I'm being asked to take all the risk, and I'm not able to capture all the upside. It is the biggest disincentive in the world. So, and then people are going to say, but Tom, you can still capture 50 million. Go back and play the part where I tell you 50 rapidly becomes 40, rapidly becomes 30, rapidly becomes no more kulaks, eat your kids.
We need a no more kulaks button too.
Yeah.
We're starting to see we got plenty of spaces in the Stream Deck XL.
Let's
plenty
go.
of spaces.
We've got a super chat from Ian Stanley. Ian says, this exploratory discussion is awesome. I hope we do these on many topics.
I think that is the experiment that we're running, man. If this is popular, we will 100% do this on many topics.
Discord link is in the description. Drop your requests. If there's something popping off at culture and we disagree with, we'll cover it deeply. I think this is a very pressing issue, but we did the same thing with the Chris Murphy thing. We're doing it with the Gary Economics. We take feedback from the chat. So thanks for helping, guys.
Indeed.
Practitioner says, change anatomy, in parentheses, change biology.
Ain't that the truth?
Jethro.
Yeah, I'm not sure what difference they're making between anatomy and biology, but if they said change the physical structures of a biological system and you change the outputs of the biological system, yes, I agree with that definitively. So if that's what you're saying, 100%.
Jethro said, Tom convinced me there's no free will.
Come on, Jethro.
Very sad to convince you of it.
Come on,
but there it
man.
is.
Jethro,
just remember, don't act
after
as
Drew
it.
went through everything to watch those videos for you, to pull the topic on the show.
Left me hanging, man.
Left you hanging.
It's just icy. Icy.
Brutus again with another super chat. Brutus, thank you. Oh, the claps. Brutus says.
Now, is that louder for them?
Yeah, it goes directly through.
So they hear it perfectly.
Yes.
Excellent.
Brutus says, free will has never been used to mean absolute free will. It's always been a subjective thing.
Okay. Does that mean that we're saying, in fact, Eric, hit him. You know which one I want to hear right now. That's exactly right.
Eric, how'd you read his mind?
That
was
is
good. I was lost.
exactly right. Eric,
He
God
said,
bless
Drew with the point.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what he means by that. Plus, that just feels like we're saying it's not really free will. Obviously, it either is or it isn't. That one's pretty binary. That's an on or off switch.
Esoteric Dichotomy says human will is an emergent phenomenon subordinate to physics and biology. It is you as a biological system pursuing goals and preferences. IDK quotes free.
Yeah. Read determined. Read determined.
That was a great sentence and words put together in a really good order.
Read determined, please. Come back and talk to me. Every conceivable angle that you can hit that man from, he goes into the deets. He's got receipts on everything. And I've heard people debate him, and it always comes down to, I have faith that like there's a soul that exists independently of the body, and it survives death. And then it's like, okay, well, I got nothing for you.
Moving on.
There it is.
We got speed run.
ERA25 says, can keeping your money in gold preserve your purchasing power?
Yes. Now, like anything, assets go up and down. It's all about sentiment. So it's not a guarantee, but yes, traditionally gold has been a hedge against inflation.
Dan Silk, thank you for your first ever super chat on a live stream. Dan, thank you.
Super chat.
Dan says, Tom, can you explain how you create GPTs asking for a friend?
Oh, I can indeed, Dan. Go, if you don't already have an account with OpenAI, create an OpenAI account, go to ChatGPT. There is an option that says Explore GPTs. Click that. Are they seeing your screen? This is perfect.
Yeah.
So you clicked Explore GPTs already? Click that, and then you'll see up there's a upper right, create. And so you would hit create, and then you're going to create documents. Don't let the GPT trick you. It will try to say, hey, just explain things, and then we'll be good. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. Because when you refresh that page, it all goes away, and you are going to be mortified by how little it retains. So it will admittedly, no matter what you do, it's going to keep the things you put in the description and all that and the instructions. But you want to use documentation for a knowledge base. I spent an entire weekend building a GPT only for it to then glitch out. I had to refresh the page, and the only thing that remained were the specific descriptions. Oh God, it was so traumatizing. Now I do everything in documentation, and I will say to the GPT, hey, this is the goal. This is what I want you to be able to do. And then it's like, cool, answer these questions. I go to a document and I give those answers as if they're just statements of fact. So, hey, this is how I work, et cetera, et cetera. This is what I want you to do, blah, blah, blah. And then I re-upload that into the GPT. And then the GPT instantly knows, no matter how many times I update that document, it then has the information. And you can just ask, are there any ambiguities? Are there any contradictions in the documentation? And for my creative stuff, I've got, call it between 50 and 60 pages of documentation for the things that I build GPTs around. And you can do that pretty fast. I would say it probably takes me about 5 to 6 hours of concentrated work to build out a 50-page document because it's generating a fair amount of the text. So it's not like I've typed 50 pages of documents. You give it answers, and then it's like, okay, cool, I think I get that, and I'm going to distill it down. So I might spend 10 minutes answering its questions, and then I'll go, okay, but now distill that down to a prompt that I can put into my document. And so then it will do it, and then I take that prompt, I put it in, then I export that document again, and I re-upload it. So I might re-upload the document 5 or 6 times in an hour. But that makes sure that I never lose anything more than, say, 5 or 10 minutes worth of work. It has been magical. Magical.
Seth, Mr. 1989, thank you for your first ever super chat on a live stream.
Seth.
Thank you, Seth.
And if that's your kid, thank you for your service.
Super chat.
Seth says, I lean against Tom on free will, if for no other reason, because determinism leads to utilitarianism being the ultimatum ideology, and utilitarianism without deep moral ethics and philosophical boundaries leads to evil.
Yep. That's why we don't act as if we have no free will. I think people should act as if they do have free will, even though it's an illusion. It's a wonderful illusion. Let's lean right in.
Sequoia Hall says, from Guam, the soccer team we started when I was 10-ish was named the Wolverines. If you know, you know. This one popped up during the Red Dawn conference.
I was going to say, I was like, is that an illusion? Yes, indeed. The little band of kids that go into the woods.
What?
The Wolverines.
Greg Huffman says, your thoughts on a class action lawsuit to stop the money printing from Congress overspending over decades causing harm and being unconstitutional? Perplexity and Grok say there is a case to be made.
That's interesting. Boy, I hope we don't have to sue our own government.
That's very interesting, though.
Why do I hate that?
Oh, you hate it? I thought that would be empowering.
Well, they're going to print the fucking money to pay you. So it's one of those where I get it and you will get the thing that you want in terms of awareness. But like the reality is we don't want the government to default on their debts. And so money printing is better. Is money printing better than the U.S. defaulting on its debts?
If you agree, still say yeah.
It probably is, but you have to get out of that need. The reason that I think that is probably better than defaulting on our debts is because military. We're in a Cold War with China. I'd need to really think about this. Because anytime I find myself saying, yeah, print money, it's probably a bad idea. But like with the banking caveat, the U.S. government probably shouldn't do that. But the way that we're doing it now, I am journaling. I'm going to stop. You've given me something to think about.
Lyrith with another super chat here.
Yeah,
Lyrith says,
super
you
chat.
absolutely can spawn new thought / revelations using brainstorms / critical thinking to create the conditions for such to spawn. Eureka! By Archimedes.
Yeah, so basically what Archimedes is saying is there's a process by which you can reach back into the recesses of your mind and pull that thing forward. But again, that just shows you were downstream of processes. That's my whole point. You were downstream of processes. Period. End of story.
NHF, no hard feelings. Thank you for your first ever super chat on a live stream.
NHF.
Thank you. NHF says, yo, Tom, I'm Mr. President and I started watching you last year. You've had a huge impact on how I think. I appreciate you. So thank you and keep up the good work.
Word. Thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciate getting that feedback because boy, oh boy, do I want to make sure that this is actually helping people.
We've got Patrick Wrightson saying, on the free will subject, Tom, are you familiar with compatibilism?
I am not.
Compatibilism?
No. Very interesting. Must learn more. We adding that to our list? I'm going to look it up right now.
Michael Rudolphson says, thank you. Prayer
Did we just
hands emoji.
misspell it?
Huh?
Yeah, you put compatibilism.
Oh,
Oh, that's compatibilism.
You're probably thinking of compatibilism. Can you zoom in a little? Compatibilism is a philosophical stance asserting that free will and determinism can coexist. In other words, it argues that even if our actions are predetermined by factors like biology, environment, or prior conditions, we can still be meaningfully considered free and morally responsible for our choices. It's essentially saying, hey, fate and freedom, they're not enemies, they're teammates. We're going to need a way bigger explanation because that's just like saying you can call it something else. You can call being predetermined free will. Look how fun that was. Yeah. I mean, I guess that falls into what I'm saying, which is act as if. But
I like the way your GPT talks to you, by the way. I also like the way that the Kyzen GPT talks.
dude, that Kyzen
Some of them are
GPT
so funny.
is my fave. I love it so much.
Michael Rudolphson says, thank you. Prayer hands, rock on emoji.
Let's go.
That's it. Thank
Let's
you,
go.
Michael.
Thank you for that. It's very generous.
We've got Oscar from Twitch with some
Our
biddies.
boy Oscar. What's up, Oscar?
If I may scroll.
Shout out to that OG team that joined me playing some games. Part of Team Kyzen. Love those guys.
Oscar
Forever
says-
and ever, you guys will be the foundation of this whole thing that we're doing.
Oscar says, how is the development of Kyzen going, both the new game mode and the open source aspect you talked about? We're thirsty for Kyzen. Fire emoji.
My man. So the new game mode is going well, thanks to Eunice and a new level of aggression on my behalf. We are making really good progress. I'm waiting for Eunice to meet my eye contact so I can
sorry, I'm
see how
looking at
she's
the chat.
feeling. I was admittedly yesterday feeling like we were in danger of going astray. So I hope that you're keeping them nice and tight.
Yeah, you mean Monday?
No, I mean yesterday. My post was, it's Tuesday morning. How are we even having this conversation?
morning,
It's like
yes,
they're
yes,
giving up
yeah.
on the whole fucking week.
Right.
It seemed like the response was very positive to what I said and that everybody's got their head in the right place.
Yes.
Okay, good. Just making sure. But yes, I think on the new mode, we're making a lot of progress. On the ability for people to mod the code, we have to solidify the code first. So that's basically on hold until we're farther into the code. But we are looking, there's a service, shockingly enough, that you can actually use that goes in and builds the SDK for you. So I'm very excited about that, which means we won't have to do it ourselves, which is very good news. We're just not quite ready to do that yet.
Tracy Ball, thank you for your $20.
Tracy, she's been very active today.
Tracy Ball says, first, great seminar yesterday, especially the Lego gift company. Thank you.
Yes. So I was doing a live masterclass yesterday where we brought in real students from our scaling workshop and just did it live for people to watch. So glad that you checked it out. Thank you, Tracy.
Second, do you, Tom, and your team do conventions, live events? Peeps love meeting the show members and learning from you all in a live setting.
Yeah, so I think that's going to become a bigger and bigger part of what we do as AI takes over the world. And we all, from Disney on down to us, we have to figure out ways to do things in person that you just can't, AI is never going to substitute. So not focused on that yet, but I could definitely see that becoming a big part of what we do by the end of 25, beginning of 26 would be my instinct.
And our last super chat of the day.
Let's go.
Loquacious Mama. Thank you
Nice
for your
name.
$10 super chat.
Man, I never need to spell the word loquacious.
Loquacious Mama says, I believe in free markets. How do we compensate for the social consequences of the winner's actions that put a large portion of the population at a disadvantage? Think junk food leading to poor health.
Yeah. So this is where the reason that freedom of speech is so important is you want to try systems and let everybody debate about whether that thing is working or not. Let everybody bring their best ideas to bear. Know what your end goal is that you're trying to get to. Know what KPIs you expect a given initiative to impact. If it does impact that, great. If it doesn't impact that, then boo, you've got to make change. So it is very much the physics of progress. You try things, you iterate, you accept the results instead of doing what we do now, which is nobody accepts the results. That you, for 40 years or 45, I think, spend money on the Department of Education, you get nothing for it. And instead of going, we need to revamp this, you keep going, throw more money at it, which doesn't work. So yomp, we have to agree on where we're trying to end up. We have to agree on the KPIs that we think are indicators that we're getting there. And then we have to adjust when we do not get the results that we want. And then we have to let people talk and battle ideas out in the public square.
Thank you all for your super chats today.
Thank you guys very, very, very much. Very appreciated.
Great day. I feel good.
And Tracy Ball says, great today. Thank you. Clitoris.
Indeed.
Shout out to all the clitorises out there for making the world go round.
That is
Without
amazing.
you, men would just be killing each other or playing video games all day.
Men wouldn't kill each other because they'd have nothing to kill each other over.
I was going to say, it's something about like women are the start of most of the most important wars or something
Yeah,
like that?
you don't even want to go back in history and ask the question, why did men go to war? You don't want to know. You don't want to know. You also, like, if we really want to end on a weird note, you don't want to know why the penis is shaped the way that it is.
I do.
Look that one up.
But I don't want to look
sure?
up on my work computer.
No.
that
that is probably
sure.
true.
But at least tells you to do it.
You
That
can be
makes it
like,
fun.
but
CEO
wait,
tells you-
Tom said,
Hey,
yeah,
10:13 a.m. Why
some
did you
steak.
Google?
Thank you, Clit Gang. This is hilarious. All hail the clitocracy.
No, but seriously,
This
can you
is
tell us? Yeah, like what? Why is
Okay.
Okay, you got like 13 seconds.
Oh, all right. Here's the 13 second. It is shaped like a shovel. So the question is, what might be in there that it would want to shovel out?
Oh.
Yup.
No, I don't know. Tell me.
What? The deposits.
Yeah, I know the
But that means that deposits are being made frequently by multiple people. So much so that it ends up shaping the penis
talked
as the
about
person
on a live before.
Correct.
I'm remembering.
The person with the best